Welcome to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Chapter 41. The Yanyun 18 Riders Trample the Blade God Sect. Who dares trespass upon my Blade God Sect? Zhang Zheng, the great elder of the Blade God Sect, whose cultivation had reached the peak of the heavenly profound realm, stepped into the void and flew before Yanda. Zhang Zheng observed the Yanyun 18 riders before him, dressed in foreign attire with curved sabers at their waists, wearing ghost-faced masks, and riding brown horses in the Poshu realm. Moreover, although Yanda's cultivation was only at the mid-stage of the heavenly profound realm, the aura emanating from him made Zhang Zheng extremely wary. Zhang Zheng cupped his fists and said, "Why have you trampled upon my Blade God Sect?" Yanda said with a cold expression, "By order of the great Tang Emperor, we are to annihilate the Blade God Sect." Upon hearing this, Zhang Zheng couldn't help but frown and say, "Are you from the great Tang Dynasty?" Yanda did not speak, only said coldly, "You have 1 stick of incense's time left. After 1 stick of incense, not even a chicken or dog will remain in the Blade God Sect." Although Zhang Zheng was very displeased upon hearing this, he was not confident he could stop these people. Because from the aura of these 18 individuals, their coordination must be extremely deep. If they were to truly engage in combat, his intuition told him he would die. Facing 1, he could still maneuver, but if 2 came to surround and kill him, he would surely die. Zhang Zheng, who had already reached the peak of the heavenly profound realm, trusted his intuition implicitly, because it was his intuition that had pulled him back from the brink of death countless times. Therefore, if even he couldn't guarantee his life under the hands of the Yanyun 18 riders, then there was no need to mention anyone else. Zhang Zheng knew about the news that the overseas 3 sects were going to the great Tang Dynasty to plunder mid-grade spiritual veins, because mid-grade spiritual veins were also extremely important to them. They currently only had 3 mid-grade spiritual veins in their possession. And the reason why a dynasty becomes a dynasty is because they possess high-grade spiritual veins. If they obtain another mid-grade spiritual vein, they can attempt to merge the 4 mid-grade spiritual veins into 1 high-grade spiritual vein. Once successful, the strength of their sect will inevitably undergo a qualitative leap. Your Excellency, we are deeply sorry for the offense to your country. We will immediately withdraw all our forces within your country. Afterwards, we will surely visit to apologize. May I ask if your Excellency can leave now? There is still half a stick of incense left. Zhang Zheng looked at the half-burnt stick of incense on the ground and his heart immediately grew anxious. If they were to truly fight, even if they sought help from the other 2 sects, it would be too late. At that time, the only outcome awaiting them would be the destruction of their sect and the death of its members. Seeing this, the sect master of the Blade God sect immediately flew to Zhang Zheng's ear and whispered a few words. Zhang Zheng's eyes lit up, and he immediately took out a shadow jade to contact Li Zan. At this moment, Li Zan, who was pinned in place and on full alert, was startled by the movement of the shadow jade. In this brief interval, Zhang Han made his move. He saw a black short blade slashing towards Li Zan. Li Zan looked at the unavoidable blow, gritted his teeth, and decided to sacrifice his arm to protect his life. Li Zan only felt his arm go cold, and then his right arm fell downwards. Taking advantage of this interval, Li Zan also took out the shadow jade. Zhang Zheng looked at Li Zan, who had lost his right arm, and quickly shouted, "Li Zan, what's wrong?" Li Zan heard this and angrily shouted, "Damn you. Get to the point. I've been killed by you. There's an extremely terrifying assassin here." Zhang Zheng saw the few thousand remaining Grandmaster Realm disciples and Li Zan, who had lost his right arm, and couldn't help but gasp. He knew that the Blade God sect had suffered a great loss this time. However, Zhang Zheng quickly calmed his emotions and looked at Qin Tian, saying, "You must be the great Tang Emperor." Qin Tian looked at the suddenly appearing Zhang Zheng and couldn't help but laugh. "What is it? Do you need something from your majesty? May your excellency spare my disciples. We will definitely visit to apologize afterwards." Qin Tian heard this, stretched, and said, "I'm busy. My game with your elder Li Zan isn't over yet. Wait a moment." Zhang Zheng looked at the disheveled Li Zan with a bitter taste in his mouth. He knew that this was the bitter fruit sown by their excessive greed. However, there was still a quarter of an hour left, so Zhang Zheng said with a wry smile, "Your Majesty. May I ask your subordinates to stop attacking for now? As he spoke, Qin Tian saw the incense stick on the ground that was about to burn out and smiled. All right. Since you've called me your majesty, I'll give you some face. Yan Da. Watch the show for a bit. Then make your move. Yes, your majesty. Upon receiving the order, Yan Da put away the saber that he had half drawn. Seeing this, Zhang Zheng breathed a sigh of relief. There was nothing he could do, the situation was against them. The top priority now was to protect the Blade God sect and buy time for the other two sects to provide support. The overseas three sects were not far apart, and although they usually had friction, they understood the principle of, when the lips are gone, the teeth are cold, in a life and death situation. The Blade God sect had received news when they first suffered a setback, so when the Yan Yun 18 riders trampled the Blade God sect, the other two sects sent experts to assist. Otherwise, when had the dignified great elder of the Blade God sect ever been so humble? Zhang Zheng looked at Li Zan, whom he had severely harmed, and smiled, Your Majesty. May I ask if you can spare our elder Li? You can name any condition. All right. Give me a top-grade spiritual vein. And I'll release him. Zhang Zheng's expression changed upon hearing this, but there was nothing he could do since their strength was inferior now. As Zhang Zheng was speaking, Li Zan's head was cut off by Zhang Han with a single strike. Seeing Li Zan's tragic death, the people of the Blade God sect quickly shouted, Elder Li. Zhang Zheng's expression also turned gloomy upon seeing this. Qin Tian saw Li Zan's demise and sat up, saying, Speak. You'd best be able to convince me, otherwise your majesty will leave no chicken or dog in your Blade God Valley. Zhang Zheng took a deep breath and said, Good. Good, great Tang Emperor. We admit defeat this time. Tell me, what do you want? Qin Tian looked at the enraged Zhang Zheng and smiled, from beginning to end, you were the uninvited guests. If I let you leave, where would the great Tang's face be? Also, you shouldn't say what I want, but what you can give. Just as Qin Tian was speaking, the people from the King Kong sect and the Sword God sect arrived at the Blade God sect. Seeing a total of 24 heavenly profound realm experts on their side, Zhang Zheng immediately became more confident and said, Great Tang Emperor. I know you have many soldiers and generals. But now our three sects have formed an alliance. In terms of strength, we are not inferior to you. I know that we cannot keep these people here, but if we truly have to fight hard, our three sects can just disband. At that time, we cannot defeat you head-on, but we will break up into smaller groups and go to your great Tang Dynasty to slaughter your common people, and you won't be able to stop us either. This was the only thing Qin Tian had been wary of from beginning to end, which was why Qin Tian had ordered the Yan Yun 18 riders to stop. And the main reason he killed Li Zan was to tell the people of the overseas three sects that daring to invade the Great Tang would come at a price. To put it bluntly, the Yan Yun 18 riders were just there for show. Qin Tian didn't suffer much loss in this battle. On the contrary, Qin Tian had uprooted those aristocratic families. These aristocratic families were parasites lying on Qin Tian's body. Dealing with them would greatly increase the Great Tang's destiny. And the benefits Qin Tian gained were indescribable. The most subjective benefit was the acceleration of his cultivation speed. So, to some extent, Qin Tian even had to thank them for giving him such an opportunity to uproot those aristocratic families. Chapter 42 Extorting the Overseas Three Sects. Qin Tian sat up, looked at the huge projection in the sky, and said with a smile, Speaking of this, you should have seen how Li Zan died just now, right? What? Do you all want to try? I'd like to see if your majesty's blade is harder or your necks are harder. You're still too green to play dirty tricks with your majesty. Zhang Zheng choked upon hearing this and said, Then what do you want? What do you mean, what does your majesty want? Your majesty wants to ask what you want. You came to my territory to cause trouble without a word, and now you feel like the victims. The people from the overseas three sects were all choked by his words. Actually, Qin Tian was right. They were clearly the ones who invaded someone else's country, so why did they now feel like victims? Speak. What exactly do you want coming to our Great Tang? It doesn't matter if you don't say anything, I will use soul searching on your people later. Zhang Zheng clenched his fist upon hearing this, then sighed and said, The reason we went to Great Tang was because we suspected the appearance of a mid-grade spiritual veins within Great Tang's borders, which is why the spiritual energy is so dense. After Zhang Zheng finished speaking, he looked completely drained. Just as Qin Tian was about to say something, a brocade guard ran up to Qin Tian and said, "Reporting to your majesty. General Guan and Lord Zug request an audience." "Grant." "Yes, your majesty." Guan Yu and Zug Liang, led by the brocade guard, came before Qin Tian and knelt, saying, "Your general. Your subject. Greetings, your majesty. Rise. Thank you, your majesty." Qin Tian looked at the two bloody figures in Guan Yu and Zug Liang's hands and said, "These are." Before Guan Yu could reply, the people from the King Kong sect and the Shenjian sect spoke up. "That is our Shenjian sect's Supreme Elder Li. That is our King Kong sect's Supreme Elder Zhang." Upon hearing this, Qin Tian knew the identities of the two. Seeing this, Guan Yu also understood Qin Tian's meaning and said in a deep voice, "Your Majesty. In order to capture this villain, we lost 300,000 soldiers." Guan Yu threw the King Kong sect's Supreme Elder in his hand onto the ground and even kicked him a few times. Seeing this, Qin Tian couldn't help but secretly give Guan Yu a thumbs up. Seeing this, Zug Liang also stepped forward and said, "Your Majesty. In order to capture this villain, your subject lost 10 rank 9 formation discs. Your subject was also severely injured." After Zug Liang finished speaking, he didn't forget to force a trace of blood out using his internal energy. Seeing this, Qin Tian couldn't help but secretly think, "Zug. The Oscars owe you a little golden man." Qin Tian deliberately pretended to be furious and said, "Good, good, overseas 3 sects. Very good. Zug Liang, heed my command. Your subject is here. Your Majesty commands you to immediately proceed to the overseas 3 sects. Set up a rank 9 killing formation in front of their gates. Your subject, your Majesty. Shadow Guard, heed my command." Zhang Han, leading over 300 shadow guards, suddenly appeared before Qin Tian and said, "Your subject is here. Your Majesty commands you to immediately lead 3,000 shadow guards to fully pursue and kill all registered personnel of the overseas 3 sects. Pass on your Majesty's decree. Command by Qi to immediately set out for the overseas 3 sects with Le 1/4 Bu, Zhao Yun, Li Kunshao, and Gao Shun. Your Majesty wants no one from the overseas 3 sects left alive. Command Meng Tian to immediately lead 100,000 Golden Fire Cavalry to set out for the overseas 3 sects. Guan Yu, Shu Chu, Dian Wei, where are you? Your general is here. The overseas 3 sects have violated our great Tang's territory and insulted our national prestige. I command you 3 to lead your troops and accompany your Majesty on a personal expedition against the overseas 3 sects. Your general receives the command." Zhang Zheng's scalp went numb upon hearing this. They knew the experts under Qin Tian's command. Leaving aside the combat power of Shu Chu and Dian Wei, just the Yan Yun 18 riders in front of them would make them hesitate if they were to attack. Judging from the combat power of the Yan Yun 18 riders and Guan Yu, the strength of the martial generals Qin Tian mentioned was absolutely comparable to these individuals. None of them were fools. Judging by the strength Qin Tian had displayed, if they clashed head-on with him, their overseas 3 sects would definitely be annihilated. Moreover, if the Yan Yun 18 riders went berserk here, they really couldn't do anything about them. In any case, if a fight truly broke out, they wouldn't even need to wait for Qin Tian to arrive personally. Their Blade God sect would be dismantled by the Yan Yun 18 riders. And the most important thing right now was to stop Qin Tian. Yan Yun 18 riders, heed my command. Here. Zhang Zheng looked at the Yan Yun 18 riders drawing their blades from their sheaths and quickly shouted, "Wait. Great Tang Emperor. We'll compensate." Qin Tian's mouth curved up upon hearing this. This was exactly what Qin Tian was waiting for. What a joke. How much is dignity worth in the adult world? As long as the money was in place, they could even go clubbing in the imperial palace. Qin Tian looked at Zhang Zheng and said with a smile, "Then tell me, how will you compensate? You've insulted my national prestige and disrupted my land. If I find out you're trying to fool me, then your Majesty will pursue and kill you even to the ends of the earth." Zhang Zheng gritted his teeth as he looked at the murderous aura emanating from Qin Tian and said, "Please allow us to discuss this first." A quarter of an hour later, after the discussion ended, Zhang Zheng looked at Qin Tian and said, "Each of our sects is willing to offer 1 mid-grade spiritual veins, 50 flying ships, 100 rank 6 pills, 8 million mid-grade spiritual stones, 30,000 yellow-grade weapons, and 1,000 Zon-grade weapons as compensation." Qin Tian secretly clenched his fist upon hearing this. Good heavens. The price of these items wasn't low. Just 100 rank 6 pills were worth hundreds of millions of low-grade spirit stones. Neither side was stupid. Qin Tian could see from this stance that the overseas three sects had shown sincerity. As a businessman, one should be trustworthy, so Qin Tian didn't make things too difficult for them. Alright. Since you have shown your sincerity, I'll be straightforward. This matter is now over. Welcome to come again next time. Zhang Zheng almost vomited 3 liters of blood upon hearing this. Who the hell would be willing to go to your broken country again? This time, they didn't even get a feather and instead lost everything. Your Majesty. What about our people? Qin Tian smiled upon hearing this and said, oh. You mean that? Don't worry, we will let them go back. Issue the order. Escort all disciples of the overseas three sects out of our great Tang's territory. Yes. After Qin Tian finished speaking, he rode his horse back to Kyoto. His wings were not yet fully grown. He could take down a rank 4 sect at some cost, but the cost and gain were not proportional. One must know that every soldier he summoned was a priceless treasure, losing even one would make Qin Tian heartbroken to death. This was because they were completely loyal to Qin Tian, and the most precious thing in this world was people's hearts. Moreover, there were many experts among the overseas three sects. Once they engaged in guerrilla warfare with Qin Tian would truly be unable to deal with them, because for Qin Tian, the importance of the common people was related to his cultivation. The stronger the country, the more the people supported the imperial family, the stronger the Great Tang's luck would be, and the faster Qin Tian's cultivation speed would be. This was something that couldn't be bought with any amount of money. Therefore, Qin Tian was really afraid that if the negotiations broke down, the Blade God sect would throw caution to the wind and play dirty tricks with him. In that case, the final outcome would definitely be that Qin Tian's losses would be greater than theirs. Chapter 43. Unlocking a new character. Pao Ding. Qin Tian stood up and said, very good. Since you have all shown your sincerity, then your Majesty will not dwell on it any further. Once you hand over the items to the Yanyun 18 riders, this matter will be considered over. However, if you dare to offend the dignity of Great Tang again, your Majesty will definitely let you know the consequences of angering your Majesty. Your Majesty gives you 2 days. If your Majesty still doesn't see what your Majesty wants when the time is up, then your overseas three sects will have no reason to exist. Do not doubt what your Majesty says. After Qin Tian finished speaking, he directly closed the shadow jade. Yanda looked at Zhang Zheng and said, Elder Zhang. I will personally come to collect the items in 2 days. I hope you will hurry. After Yanda finished speaking, he pulled the reins and rode his horse away, disappearing into the horizon. Zhang Zheng looked at the disappearing Yanyun 18 riders and sighed, alas. A powerful figure is about to rise in this desolate land. Seeing this, the sect master of the Blade God sect stepped forward and said, Supreme Elder, don't you think the rapid rise of Great Tang is a bit strange? As far as I know, the Great Tang Dynasty has more than 5 armies with military souls. On the Tianshuan continent, the armies that can awaken military souls can be counted on one hand. I suspect they have mastered some method for condensing military souls. Why don't we spread this news? And then let other forces deal with them. For example, the Tianma dynasty. Upon hearing this, Zhang Zheng couldn't help but say coldly, your method is feasible, but we have to wait until this situation blows over. If Great Tang finds out and goes crazy, dragging us down with them, that would be bad. So remember this. We will discuss this matter further and use this news to extract some good things from those dynasties. Yes. Supreme Elder. Zhang Zheng raised his head, looked at the sky, and smiled, Great Tang Emperor. Just you wait. Qin Tian led the Tiger Brave army back to the imperial capital in 1 day. After having a friendly exchange with his group of concubines, Qin Tian lay on the bed and thought to himself, this shouldn't be happening. The aristocratic families have been eliminated, and the new policies have begun to be implemented in various places. The system's side mission should have been completed. Just as Qin Tian was full of doubts, the system's voice sounded. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the side mission. Ding. Rewards are being settled. Ding. Rewards settlement complete. Please check, host. Qin Tian didn't say a word and directly thought, extract rewards. Ding. Reward extraction successful. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a special character summoning card. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the side mission. Luck has increased. The concentration of spiritual energy within Great Tang has increased by 10%. Looking at the pitifully small rewards, Qin Tian felt a strange sense of loss. After all, compared to before, this time the rewards were too little. As the saying goes, it's easy to go from frugality to luxury, but difficult to go from luxury to frugality. Naturally, Qin Tian felt very unaccustomed to the system suddenly becoming stingy. This time, due to a system malfunction, you got a special character summoning card. You're just lucky. You really are taking advantage and still complaining. Upon hearing this, Qin Tian couldn't help but laugh and said, "Well, you see, I was just lamenting the impermanence of life. No one can stand eating abalone and shark fin one moment and then gnawing on a steamed bun the next. HMPH. Too lazy to bother with you. This girl is going to get her beauty sleep. You're not allowed to mess around anymore." Shouting so loudly and all ate at once. Shameless. Upon hearing this, Qin Tian smiled teasingly and said, "Huh, you're a girl. How come? Could it be that you?" "Shut up. This girl is going to sleep." Qin Tian looked at Wei Wei, who was running away in embarrassment, and clicked on the special character summoning card. Ding. Special character summoning card used successfully. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the special character Pao Ding. Seeing this, Qin Tian was completely dumbfounded. Qin Tian was no stranger to Pao Ding. As a descendant of Hua Sha, Qin Tian had heard the story of Pao Ding dissecting an ox. Qin Tian couldn't understand why the system would reward him with a chef. Although Qin Tian was a foodie, if he had to waste a system summoning opportunity to summon a chef, he would be extremely unwilling. With a curious mind, Qin Tian clicked on Pao Ding's attribute panel. Name: Pao Ding, 9th grade Spirit Food Master. Cultivation: Peak Dan Yuan Realm. Cultivation method: Dao Convergence Art, Heaven rank low grade. Constitution: God of Cookery Body. Talent: Divine Chef. Passive skill: increases the effect of spirit food by 60% when making it. Qin Tian looked at this unheard of spirit food master. What the heck was this thing? Unable to figure it out, Qin Tian decided to wake Wei Wei up. Wei Wei. Wei Wei. What do you want? Don't you know disturbing someone's sweet dreams is annoying? Upon hearing this, Qin Tian rolled his eyes and said, "What the heck? Aren't you just a piece of code? Why are you putting on airs with me here?" Wei Wei was furious upon hearing this and said, "Do you dare to say that again? Do you believe that this grandma can directly use her authority to increase the price of the system mall by 30%? Upon hearing this, Qin Tian instantly backed down. After all, you can mess with anything, but you can't mess with money. So Qin Tian changed the subject and said, alright. I'm afraid of you. Tell me, what's the deal with this spirit food master?" Wei Wei looked at Qin Tian with disdain upon hearing this and said, "You really are a bumpkin. You don't even know this. Haven't you heard a saying? The Great Tao has 3,000 paths, but they all lead to the same destination. If there can be alchemists, why can't there be spirit food masters or beast tamers? It's just that the world you are in is too low level, and there are many things you don't understand. So, cultivate well. Strive to break through the constraints between heaven and earth one day. Alright. I've sent you all the information about spirit food masters. You can read it yourself. Don't disturb this old lady's sweet dreams again." Dong. A door closing sound came from Qin Tian's mind. Qin Tian looked at the irritable Wei Wei and shook his head, saying, "Women in menopause really have a big temper." Qin Tian then clicked on the introduction about spirit food masters. Spirit food master. A profession similar to an alchemist, except their threshold is lower than that of an alchemist, and the effects are not as immediate as pills. However, they have their unique advantages and can solve many problems that pills cannot. In short, a spirit food master is a profession no less inferior to an alchemist. Looking at the introduction about spirit food masters, Qin Tian's smile gradually turned twisted. Now his world's first pavilion was truly going to become the biggest money pit in the world. However, the most important thing at the moment was to first eliminate the Yan country and Qi. Then develop stealthily, and when the time was ripe, he could develop his forces without restraint. At this time, on the border of the great Tang Dynasty, Bai Qi, along with Li Kunshao and the other two, had completely annihilated the remnants of the Zhenbei king's troops. Bai Qi looked at the high-hanging blood moon and muttered, "It seems the speed of advancement needs to be accelerated." Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 44. Destroying Yan Country. Bai Qi makes his move. Bai Qi gathered Le 1/4 Bu and the other two together and said, "Generals, the Yanqi allied forces have been completely annihilated by us, so your majesty has ordered us to quickly destroy the two countries of Yan and Qi. Currently, the Brocade Guard has infiltrated the imperial capital of Yan and Qi. Therefore, I plan to divide our forces. I will lead one path with Feng Xian to attack Qi, while Zilong and Kunshao will attack Yan. We must take down Yan and Qi within half a month. Then, we will spend 3 days taking control of the entire territories of Yan and Qi. Afterwards, your majesty will send Lord Lu to devour the dragon veins of Yan and Qi to strengthen our great Tang dragon vein. Remember, our goal is only to destroy the imperial family. After the imperial family is destroyed, we will then deal with the troublemakers within the territories of Yan and Qi. General Gao Shun is currently leading 3 million Ziliang army and is on his way. The cities Yutu, Zilong and Kunshao, capture will be received by General Gao Shun. Alright. That's all I have to say. All generals, rest early. We will depart immediately tomorrow morning. Yes. Your general accepts the order. Within the territory of Qi, the cities of Qi were like paper in front of Le 1/4 Bu. Le 1/4 Bu fought his way through the territory of Qi. With the full assistance of the Brocade Guard and Shadow Guard, Le 1/4 Bu advanced all the way to the imperial city of Qi. Bai Qi's infantry followed behind Le 1/4 Bu to receive the cities. The Emperor of Qi, upon receiving Zhang Zong's head, was furious. The Emperor of Qi, Song Ke, looked at the officials in the court and angrily said, "Idiots. All of you are idiots. What use is it for your majesty to raise you? A mere great Tang actually caused us, great Qi, to lose 800,000 elites. Someone confiscate Zhang Zong's property. His wife and daughters are to be sent to the Jiaozi Fang." Upon hearing this, the civil and military officials of the court all trembled and knelt on the ground, silent. One must know that the Emperor of Qi, Song Ke, was notoriously cruel. If he found any excuse, it was likely that their entire families would be executed. The Emperor of Qi immediately stood up upon hearing this and said, "What? What are the silent scouts doing? A full 10,000 army has already reached the bottom of my imperial city. And you are only telling me now. Someone, drag Ning Yu out and behead him. Exterminate his 3 clans." The enraged Song Ke calmed down after taking a few deep breaths, and then said, "Quick. Take your majesty's token and invite the national protector guests and the elders of the Zongren residence. Tell them that Qi has reached the moment of its destruction. Please ask them to quickly come out of seclusion to resist the foreign enemy." Within the territory of Qi, Le 1/4 Bu was advancing triumphantly. With the assistance of Gao Shun, the few of them quickly took control of the entire territory of Yan. Below the imperial city of Qi, Le 1/4 Bu looked at the city defense formation in front of him and sneered, "You want to stop me with a mere 5th-rank formation? Aren't you thinking a bit too much?" Le 1/4 Bu looked at the city defense formation in front of him, flew into the sky, circulated his spiritual energy, and raised the Fang Tian halberd above his head. He swung it violently. A Fang Tian halberd that was 100 meters long fiercely crashed towards the city defense formation. "Just right, your strength is also quite good. I will give you a chance, all of you come at once. I will challenge all of you alone." The Emperor of Qi looked at Le 1/4 Bu and laughed, "Ignorant child. How dare you speak so arrogantly? Old ancestor. This child is only a Dan Yuan realm peak. Your majesty humbly requests old ancestor to make a move and destroy him." The old ancestor of Qi looked at Le 1/4 Bu and for some reason, he always felt a sense of unease. Otherwise, with his Earth origin realm peak cultivation, he would have already slapped Le 1/4 Bu and these 10,000 troops to death. The old ancestor of Qi ignored the Emperor of Qi and said, "Youngster. This old ancestor will give you a chance. Retreat immediately. Regarding your trouble to the dignity of our Qi imperial family, this old ancestor can let bygones be bygones." Le 1/4 Bu heard this, held the Fang Tian halberd, and smiled, sorry. I am here on the order of your majesty of the great Tang Dynasty to destroy Qi. All right. No more nonsense. Take this. Wait. Feng Xian. They are mine. My realm breakthrough today will rely on them. You step back first. Lo 1/4 Bu heard this and withdrew his aura. It just so happened that he also wanted to see how strong Bai Qi was. After all, he had known him for so many years and had never seen Bai Qi make a move. He and Meng Tian often sparred, but because Meng Tian's talent was not in one-on-one combat, Meng Tian was only a decent opponent for Lo 1/4 Bu. Bai Qi also arrived below the imperial city of Qi with 600,000 troops at this time. Bai Qi looked at the experts of Qi in the sky and summoned a black long spear. He just stepped through the void, approaching the experts in the sky one step at a time. As Bai Qi approached step by step, the Qi evil energy he released became increasingly intense. Lo 1/4 Bu couldn't help but narrow his pupils upon seeing this, because the Qi evil energy on Bai Qi was actually suppressing him. At this moment, he finally understood why Bai Qi could become one of the 4 great military gods during the Warring States period of Huaxia. The old ancestor of Qi looked at the Qi evil energy emanating from Bai Qi and his pupils contracted violently, because he found that due to the influence of Bai Qi's Qi evil energy, his strength was suppressed by a full 30%. And this was not only aimed at one person, but at everyone present. Wasn't this great Tang dynasty just a dynasty at the bottom of the ranking? Why would such a strong person appear? And not just one. Bai Qi pointed the long spear in his hand at the Earth Origin Realm peak old ancestor of Qi and said, all of you come at once. I'm in a hurry. After Bai Qi finished speaking, he flashed and rushed into the midst of the experts of Qi. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen Dan Yuan realm martial artists of Qi were killed. The old ancestor of Qi, who had reacted, quickly made a move to stop him and said, you rogue general, don't be so arrogant. Bai Qi still ignored them and continued to slaughter the Dan Yuan realm and Poshu realm martial artists without restraint. The aura on Bai Qi also became increasingly terrifying. Bai Qi was still at ease under the encirclement of 10 Yuan realm experts, constantly slaughtering those lower-level martial artists. Some Poshu realm and Dan Yuan realm martial artists were terrified by such a terrifying Bai Qi and began to flee. However, they found that in front of Bai Qi, they didn't even have a chance to escape. Looking at the martial artists scurrying around, Bai Qi's mouth curved slightly. Immediately after, 8 chains with a sharp blade at the top suddenly appeared behind Bai Qi. God-slaying lock. Following Bai Qi's roar, the 8 chains were like living beings, stabbing towards the fleeing Poshu realm and Dan Yuan realm martial artists. Ah! Screams rose and fell, and the 8 chains were like snakes, constantly harvesting the lives of the experts of Qi among the many martial artists. Chapter 45 Bai Qi's Tribulation. In the blink of an eye, nearly 1,000 Poshu realm martial artists and dozens of Dan Yuan realm martial artists were completely slaughtered. The remaining experts from Qi were only dozens of Dan Yuan realm martial artists and 10 D Yuan realm martial artists. Whoosh! 8 chains danced continuously in the air, looking as if they would choose someone to devour in the next second. After killing several hundred martial artists, Bai Qi looked at the remaining dozens of martial artists and said, very good. After killing you, I should be able to advance to the D Yuan realm. Lo 1/4 Bu, watch them and don't let them escape. Lo 1/4 Bu heard this and laughed, don't worry, Commander Bai. With me here, none of them will think of escaping. Because Bai Qi's speed just now was too fast, the old ancestor of Qi who reacted looked at the foundation Qi had accumulated over nearly 10,000 years, which was now almost completely slaughtered by Bai Qi, and roared in fury, presumptuous. How dare you, a mere rat, cause trouble? Form the 10 directions killing array. The 10 D Yuan realm old ancestors of Qi heard this and formed seals one after another. As 10 beams of light fell, Bai Qi was surrounded by the 10 directions killing array within the formation. Bai Qi looked at the 10 directions killing array that enveloped him, unmoved. He saw him retract all the chains back into his body. Immediately after, an extremely berserk aura surged out from Bai Qi's body. Within the 10 directions killing array, killing intent permeated, as if it would burst out of the formation in the next second. Not good. He wants to use Qi evil energy to wash over and weaken the formation's restraint on him. Quick. Increase the output of spiritual power. As the 10 great old ancestors of Qi increased the output of spiritual power, the blade Qi condensed within the 10 directions killing array continuously attacked Bai Qi. Many deep, bone-revealing wounds appeared on Bai Qi's body. As time passed, the old ancestors of Qi also discovered something was wrong. Under the attack of the 10 directions killing array, Bai Qi's aura was not weakened, on the contrary, it became increasingly terrifying. Crack, crack, crack. As Bai Qi's aura became increasingly terrifying, the 10 directions killing array finally couldn't withstand the washing of Bai Qi's Qi evil energy and began to show cracks. Not good. Quickly reinforce the formation. He's about to break out. The 10 Di Yuan realm old ancestors heard this and hurriedly increased the output of spiritual power, but in the next second, an extremely berserk Qi evil energy surged out. The 10 Di Yuan realm old ancestors all suffered backlash and spat out fresh blood. La 1/4 Bu looked at Bai Qi, whose aura had reached the Earth origin realm peak, and his pupils constricted slightly. Now he finally understood the terrifying aspect of Bai Qi. Bai Qi, who had broken out of the 10 directions killing array, let out a hoarse groan that reached the ears of the 10 Di Yuan realm elders. Not bad. The power of the 10 directions killing array formed by U10 has reached the level of surrounding and killing a Tian Yuan realm early stage martial artist. However, this is still a bit lacking for me. If your cultivation were all at the Earth origin realm peak, perhaps I would have fallen into your hands, but it's a pity you are not. Then, next, I will send you on your way. As Bai Qi's words fell, 8 chains surged out from within his body. The old ancestor of Qi looked at the chains flying towards him and roared, "Run!" After speaking, the 10 Di Yuan realm old ancestors of Qi sucked the Dan Yuan realm martial artists beside them in front of them to block the fatal blow, but this was merely futile. After flying out 10 miles, the Earth origin realm peak old ancestor was the first to be pierced through the chest by the god-slaying lock, followed by the second, the third, until the 10th Di Yuan realm old ancestor of Qi was pierced through the chest by the god-slaying lock, only then did Bai Qi stop his slaughter. After retracting all 8 god-slaying locks back into his body, Bai Qi's aura surged dramatically, and the wounds on his body also healed immediately. Bai Qi turned around and looked at La 1/4 Bu, saying, "Fengxian. Leave these little shrimps from the imperial city for you to handle first. I'm about to break through, I'll leave for a bit." After Bai Qi finished speaking, he disappeared from his original spot. La 1/4 Bu looked at Bai Qi's back, a hint of envy flashing in his eyes. There was nothing he could do. Bai Qi's talent of being able to increase his strength by killing was simply too abnormal. If he were to fight Bai Qi, it would definitely be a mutual destruction. There was no way anyone could withstand Bai Qi when he fought with his life on the line now, the only outcome would be mutual destruction. Song Ke looked at Bai Qi, who was like a devil god, and was completely paralyzed with fear. He knew that he was next. With a Poshu realm cultivation, he was a joke in front of Bai Qi. Even the imperial guards of Qi on the city wall lost their will to resist. After La 1/4 Bu chopped off Qi Wang's head, he took down the capital of Qi effortlessly. Boom. The tribulation clouds in the sky were continuously gathering. After Bai Qi recovered the spiritual power in his body, he broke through the last layer of membrane within his body. As a Di Yuan realm aura surged out, the rumbling sound of thunder began to come from the sky. Boom. The energy of the tribulation clouds had gathered to its peak. Looking at the tribulation clouds in the sky, Bai Qi stood up and looked at the tribulation clouds in the sky, his expression becoming increasingly solemn. HMPH. You want to destroy me? All right. Before you destroy me, I'll destroy you first. Bai Qi let out a cold snort, unleashing his full Qi evil energy. Under the washing of the Qi evil energy, the surrounding space was slightly distorted. Boom. The heavenly tribulation seemed to have been provoked by Bai Qi and sent down the first bolt of lightning. A lightning bolt as thick as a bucket struck Bai Qi from the sky into the ground. Even the large trees beside Bai Qi were struck into powder. As the first bolt of lightning fell, the thunder from the sky began to fall like raindrops. Boom. A quarter of an hour later, Bai Qi, who had endured countless lightning strikes, stood up and looked at the thunderclouds in the sky, roaring, "Good. Since you want to strike me to death, then I will devour you. Immediately after, Bai Qi soared into the air, the 8 god-slaying locks on his body continuously dancing. The thunderclouds in the sky seemed to have become even more berserk because of Bai Qi's provocation. The falling lightning became thicker and its power stronger. The god-slaying locks on Bai Qi's body desperately absorbed the power of the heavenly thunder to replenish the rapidly depleting spiritual power within his body. Whoosh! Bai Qi's god-slaying locks trembled incessantly under the bombardment of the lightning. And Bai Qi was not feeling well either at this moment, because the lightning energy was wantonly destroying his body. If this continued, Bai Qi would definitely die. Bai Qi looked at the wantonly berserk lightning power within his body and shouted in pain, "Thieving heavens, I don't believe it. What can a mere lightning tribulation do to me?" However, what responded to Bai Qi was the heavenly tribulation's even fiercer attack. Crack! Bai Qi's god-slaying locks began to crack because they had absorbed too much energy from the lightning tribulation. If Bai Qi didn't have the bloodthirst talent skill, he would have already exploded and died from being bloated by the heavenly tribulation's energy. The energy of the heavenly tribulation within Bai Qi's body was continuously destroying Bai Qi's physical body. The 2 talent skills, bloodthirst and devour, were continuously devouring the energy of the heavenly tribulation, reaching a certain balance between the two. Finally, after 2 hours, the tribulation clouds in the sky dispersed. The valley, which was originally filled with strong winds, lightning, and thunder, now appeared peaceful. An hour later, Bai Qi finished absorbing the mid-grade spiritual stones in his hand, opened his eyes, and stood up. Suddenly, Bai Qi seemed to have a feeling. The 8 god-slaying locks turned into 9, and they all carried lightning. Bai Qi looked at the sudden increase in lightning power on the god-slaying locks and murmured, "Could this be the power of the heavenly tribulation? Congratulations, Commander Bai, for obtaining this opportunity." Lo 1/4 Bu's figure appeared behind Bai Qi and cupped his fists. Bai Qi heard this and couldn't help but laugh loudly. "Let's go. Fengxian. Let's go back. I'll treat you to a drink. Ha ha ha." Chapter 46 Qin Tian wants to make money. Qin Tian, who was eating breakfast in the imperial palace, was stunned by the sudden system prompt. Ding! Congratulations to the host's great general, Bai Qi, for breaking through to the Di Yuan realm and obtaining the power of the heavenly tribulation. Ding! Congratulations to the host for increasing your luck. The system has rewarded a small gift package. Please check it. Upon hearing this, Qin Tian quickly thought to himself, "Open the small gift package." Ding! The small gift package has been used successfully. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 100,000 high-grade spiritual stones. Looking at the 100,000 high-grade spiritual stones, Qin Tian felt a little gauching, as he didn't have many spiritual stones left, and these 100,000 high-grade spiritual stones were a pleasant surprise. Qin Tian immediately clicked on Bai Qi's attribute panel. Name: Bai Qi. Cultivation: Early Di Yuan Realm. Cultivation Technique: Bloodthirst Demonic Art. Heavenly Tribulation Middle Grade. Can be upgraded. Physique: Bloodthirst Demonic Physique. Talent: Bloodthirst. Passive skill: can absorb 1% of the cultivation of the killed target. The more severely injured, the higher the combat power. When activated at the cost of life, it can directly increase cultivation by 3 major realms. Devour. Active skill: 9 chains with the power of heavenly tribulation can be generated in the body, which can devour half of the cultivation of the target hit. Ski. Qi Evil Energy. Active skill: reduces the enemy's attack power by 30% when activated. Troops: 100,000 Great Qin Elite Soldiers. Minimum cultivation is innate peak. Looking at Bai Qi's abnormal attributes, Qin Tian couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. Bai Qi, who had entered the Di Yuan realm, could instantly kill the previous Bai Qi. Now, Qin Tian had the capital to face all empires. If another martial generals had broken through to the Di Yuan realm before, he would have definitely annihilated the overseas 3 sects. Although the martial generals under him had all reached the peak of the Dan Yuan realm, they were still a long way from the Di Yuan realm. Bai Qi killed nearly 10 million people and 10 Di Yuan realm experts to break through from the peak of the Dan Yuan realm to the Di Yuan realm, which shows how big the gap between the Dan Yuan realm and the Di Yuan realm is. The most headache-inducing problem for Qin Tian now is how to make money, because the cultivation of his elite troops is basically at the peak of the innate realm. Therefore, he needs about 620,000 breaking sect pills, 70,000 breaking void pills, and 4,000 condensing yuan pills. And the price of condensing yuan pills is the most expensive, costing 300,000 mid-grade spiritual stones, which is 3 million low-grade spiritual stones. The price of D-yuan pills is even more outrageous, with just one D-yuan pill costing 6 million high-grade spiritual stones, which is 600 million low-grade spiritual stones. And Qin Tian will need to sell hundreds of thousands of such pills in the future. Raising an army is truly expensive. No wonder the average strength of the armies in those empires is only at the Poshu realm. Qin Tian alone will spend 56,200 million low-grade spiritual stones on pills. According to the exchange rate of 1 to 10, that's 4,200 million mid-grade spiritual stones. Even if the great Tang Dynasty were sold, it wouldn't be worth this price. Qin Tian can now produce 37,200,000 tons of dragon tooth rice from the spiritual field every year. If sold at the market price of 6 mid-grade spiritual stones per kilogram, it would be 2,230,000,000 low-grade spiritual stones if all of it were sold. That's over 2 billion supreme-grade spiritual stones. With Qin Tian's current strength, he is not enough to possess so much wealth. As for sales channels, he has them. The Tianzan auction house in Xiliang City can handle it, as they are backed by the Tianchuan Merchant Guild, whose business spans the entire Tianchuan continent. Qin Tian doesn't trust the Tianzan auction house, but Qin Tian can disguise himself and sell some dragon tooth rice to the Tianchuan auction house. Moreover, Qin Tian also plans to dump dragon tooth rice in the Beastman territory, and in large quantities, because at present, his strength is insufficient and he needs time to develop, so everything must be done carefully. Just as Qin Tian was thinking about how to earn enough money, the Yanyun 18 riders arrived before Qin Tian. Yanda leads the Yanyun 18 riders to pay respects to your majesty. Hearing this, Qin Tian opened his eyes and said, "Did you bring the things back?" "Reporting to your majesty. All the things have been brought back. Please take a look." Qin Tian took the ring and said, "You've worked hard. These 100,000 high-grade spiritual stones are a reward for you. You've worked hard, go and rest first. Your general thanks your majesty for the reward." Upon hearing this, Yanda immediately retreated. A eunuch knelt before Qin Tian and said, "Reporting to your majesty. Lord Lu requests an audience." Hearing this, Qin Tian couldn't help but smile and say, "This Lu Bowen really arrives as soon as he's mentioned. Declare Lord Lu to have an audience." Not long after, Lu Bowen was brought into the main hall by a jumping eunuch. "Your subject. Lu Bowen greets your majesty." "Lord Lu, rise. You and I, as ruler and subject, don't need to be so polite. Sit." Qin Tian finished speaking and pointed to a chair beside him. "Thank you, your majesty." Lu Bowen stood up and sat next to Qin Tian, saying, "Your majesty. Your subject has brought back all the dragon veins from Yan country and Great Qi, and they will be merged into our Great Tang dragon veins soon." Qin Tian nodded upon hearing this and said, "I know. You came at the right time. I have 3 mid-grade spiritual veins here. You are an expert in this area, so I will leave them to you. Also, give these airships, cultivation techniques, martial skills, and pills to Zhuge Liang. Their military department should need them. By the way, put this Tianzi armor and Tianzi sword into the dragon vein to nourish them. You won't need them. General Bai obeys your majesty." What Qin Tian said was the truth. With his golden dragon body, all defensive gear was useless in front of him. As for the Tianzi sword, it was truly not of much use to him, because he already had an earth-rank sword in his hand. Even a better sword would only be for show in his hands. Because he had many experts under him, Qin Tian had almost no opportunity to act, and his subordinates would not let him act either. Because in the imperial palace, there were 10 shadow guards guarding Qin Tian at all times, and the brocade guard had surrounded Qin Tian's sleeping quarters so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. When going out, Qin Tian had at least 30 shadow guards hidden around him, and the Tiger Brave Army and brocade guard would never give anyone the opportunity to get close to Qin Tian. Therefore, no matter how good the Tianzi armor and Tianzi sword were, Qin Tian couldn't use them. It was better to send them into the dragon vein to nourish them. The next day, Qin Tian began his second morning court. Looking at the ministers below, Qin Tian said, "The main reason I called you here today is to discuss two matters. The first is that I will be going into seclusion. The duration is yet to be determined. The second matter is to accelerate the pace of controlling Yan country and Great Qi. Liu Bowen, Zhuge Liang, Fang Xuanling, listen to my command. Your subject is here. I bestow upon you the imperial sword. From now on, during the time I am not here, you can handle all affairs of the dynasty with full authority. If there are any who disobey, execute them. Your Majesty. Retreat from court." After issuing two orders, Qin Tian patted his butt and left. Seeing this, the ministers in the main hall all went forward to curry favor with Zhuge Liang and the other two. Chapter 47. The transaction with Tianquan auction house. 3 days later, Qin Tian, dressed in a black robe and accompanied by Dian Wei and Xu Chu, arrived at the Tianquan auction house. Qin Tian and the two men wore black robes that concealed their faces and auras. Qin Tian had bought these robes from the System Mall. The black robes could hide all auras, and as long as one didn't use soul power to scan, it was basically impossible to sense that Qin Tian and the two men were cultivators. Looking at the Tianquan auction house in front of him, Qin Tian's mouth curved slightly upwards, and he stepped inside. "Miss, the family has sent someone to inform you that since your business performance has not met the standards for the past few quarters, the family has sent someone to notify you. If your business performance does not meet the standard this quarter, you are to immediately return to the family." "I understand. You may leave." Zhang Zixin looked at the full moon outside the window and said, "Liu Bo, is it true that I cannot escape this destiny?" "Miss, there's nothing that can be done. In a few years, West Liang will gradually develop. The spiritual energy density in West Liang is already comparable to that of the imperial capital of some empires. It's a pity that time waits for no one." Zhang Zixin was the third miss of the Tianquan Merchant Guild, but she was born of a concubine, so she faced considerable exclusion within the family. However, because Zhang Zixin was exceptionally beautiful, she had countless suitors, and coupled with her outstanding talent, the Zhang family wanted to marry her off to the Crown Prince of the Star Empire. And the Crown Prince of the Star Empire was also one of her staunch suitors. However, Zhang Zixin was not satisfied with the family's arrangement and applied for an external posting. As long as she achieved success, she would have the right to refuse this marriage. However, on this vast Tianquan continent, the Tianquan Merchant Guild was already stationed in various empires, and the Zhang family all hoped for her to marry the Crown Prince of the Star Empire, so Zhang Zixin hit walls everywhere. In the end, Zhang Zixin reluctantly chose the suddenly rising West Liang as the place for her rise. However, although the economy of West Liang had seen a significant improvement in recent years, this was only relatively speaking. For Zhang Zixin, it was merely a drop in the bucket. "Miss, 3 distinguished guests have arrived. They are already waiting in the VIP room." Zhang Zixin frowned upon hearing this and said, "I won't see them. Just send a random steward to deal with them." Zhang Zixin had the reputation of being the most beautiful woman in West Liang, so there were countless wealthy young men who used this excuse to seek an audience with her every day. The maid at the door said, "Miss. This time it's different. The other party has a significant background. They specifically asked to see the person in charge of the auction house. And look." After saying that, the maid handed a handful of dragon tooth rice to Zhang Zixin. Zhang Zixin examined the dragon tooth rice in her hand and stood up abruptly, her voice trembling. This is top-grade dragon tooth rice. Quickly take me to meet this distinguished guest." Not long after, Zhang Zixin arrived at the VIP room where Qin Tian was staying, led by the maid. As soon as Zhang Zixin pushed the door open and entered, she saw Qin Tian sitting on the sofa and the two figures behind him, Dian Wei and Xu Chu, who were like iron towers. "I apologize. I have kept you waiting, distinguished guest." After saying that, Zhang Zixin sat directly opposite Qin Tian. Looking at the graceful Zhang Zixin, Qin Tian couldn't help but sigh in his heart. This most beautiful woman in West Liang truly lives up to her reputation. "Miss Zhang, I'll get straight to the point. I have some dragon tooth rice that I want to sell. I wonder if your esteemed establishment can handle it." Zhang Zixin smiled slightly upon hearing this and said, "Please rest assured, distinguished guest. While our Tianquan auction house may not be ranked first in terms of strength on this continent, Mr., you can rest assured that we are capable in terms of financial resources. I just don't know how much dragon tooth rice Mr. has. Qin Tian was also straightforward. He directly threw dozens of storage rings in front of Zhang Zixin and said, just give me a price. There are a total of 1 million tons here. I wonder if you can handle it. Even Zhang Zixin, who had seen much of the world, was shocked by the grand gesture of the person in front of her. She knew that if this deal was made, her targets for the next few years would be exceeded, and this deal alone would allow her to quickly establish herself in the Tianquan auction house and escape that controlled fate. After inspecting the storage rings, Zhang Zixin looked at Qin Tian and asked, "May I know your esteemed surname, Mr.?" Qin Tian put down the teacup in his hand and said, "Does the Tianquan auction house have a habit of inquiring about people's backgrounds before doing business?" Zhang Zixin heard the displeasure in Qin Tian's words and quickly said, "No. Please don't misunderstand, Mr. I just felt I didn't know how to address you. All right. Just give me a price. If the price is right, I will come to cooperate with you next time if I have any good things." A quarter of an hour later, after verifying the quality of the dragon tooth rice, Zhang Zixin put down the storage rings in her hand and said, "Mr. What you have is top-grade dragon tooth rice. The current market price is 10 mid-grade spiritual stones per catty. We are willing to purchase this batch of dragon tooth rice at the market price. What do you think, Mr.?" Qin Tian looked at the woman in front of him with some surprise upon hearing this. He hadn't expected Zhang Zixin, who was known as the most beautiful woman in West Liang, to be so capable. She was actually trading with Qin Tian at the market price. Interesting. Qin Tian took a sip of tea and said, "What do you want?" "Please don't misunderstand, Mr. I just want to make friends with you, and I hope that next time you have any good things, you can think of our Tianquan auction house first." Qin Tian smiled upon hearing this and said, "Your esteemed establishment is indeed the wealthiest merchant guild on the Tianquan continent. How about this? This entire batch of goods will be traded for spiritual stones. I wonder if your esteemed establishment has the ability to handle this batch of goods." Zhang Zixin smiled upon hearing this and said, "Please rest assured, Mr. Our Tianquan auction house has this much capability. 10 billion top-grade spiritual stones will be delivered immediately after we finish counting. Happy cooperation." Looking at Zhang Zixin's extended jade hand, Qin Tian was stunned for a moment, then held Zhang Zixin's jade hand and said, "Happy cooperation." After waiting for an hour, the people from the Tianquan auction house finally finished counting the spiritual stones. Zhang Zixin handed 3 storage rings to Qin Tian and said, "Mr. Please take a look. See if the amount is correct." Qin Tian took the storage rings and scanned them with his divine sense. 10 billion top-grade spiritual stones lay inside, not more, not less. After completing the transaction, Qin Tian stood up and said, "Miss Zhang. Since the transaction is complete, I shall take my leave." After Zhang Zixin saw Qin Tian to the door, Qin Tian turned around and said, "Miss Zhang, please stay." Zhang Zixin smiled upon hearing this and said, "Mr. I hope you will think of our Tianquan auction house next time you have any good things. Believe me, our Tianquan auction house will definitely not disappoint you." "All right, Miss Zhang. Then I shall take my leave first. Have a safe journey." Chapter 48 Qin Tian's Ambition. Zhang Zixin, returning to the lounge, had a face full of smiles. Uncle Zhang walked up to Zhang Zixin and said with a smile, "Congratulations, miss, on reaching the transaction volume." "Uncle Zhang, do you know the identity of this Mr.?" Uncle Zhang looked at Zhang Zixin and said with a smile, "Miss, isn't the answer already in your heart?" "Uncle Zhang, this great Tang emperor is not simple. I've investigated him. He was originally just an incomparably weak and useless prince of the great Tang Dynasty, but unexpectedly, he used his acting skills to deceive everyone. After deliberately showing weakness to other forces in the imperial city, he was in theft to West Liang, this barren land. But what was unexpected was that in just the next few years, he transformed Shi Liang city into the most famous city among the surrounding dynasties. As soon as he arrived in West Liang, he quickly eliminated those aristocratic families to strengthen the imperial power, implemented administrative reforms, and, despite the pressure from the 3 great empires, opened trade with the beastmen. All these methods demonstrate that this great Tang emperor is not simple. Furthermore, the capable individuals around him are endless. Any one of his martial generals, taken out alone, could cause the sects in holy lands outside to fight over them. And the most peculiar thing is that he can make those arrogant and fierce generals obey him without question, yet there are no spiritual energy fluctuations on his body, which means he has no cultivation. I'm very curious, he's only 20 this year, right? How did he manage to do things that even the most outstanding young talents in those empires cannot achieve? Uncle Zhang laughed loudly upon hearing this, haha. Miss. This time you've misjudged. This great Tang emperor is truly unfathomable. Although the aura on his body is very subtle, if I weren't a peak void realm expert, I wouldn't have detected that the great Tang emperor's cultivation has already reached the Poshu realm. You must know that before he came to West Liang, he was still a normal person with no cultivation at all. In just 4 years, he has grown to the Poshu realm. May I ask, which forces genius on this Tianshuan continent can go from nothing to having, and cultivate all the way to the Poshu realm in just 4 short years? Moreover, he missed the best cultivation period. If he had started cultivating from a young age, his current achievements would definitely be astonishing. Even miss, you have only reached the Danyuan realm after cultivating from a young age until now. If this great Tang emperor is given a few more years, catching up to you would truly not be difficult. I dare say that great Tang emperor is absolutely invincible among those in the same realm, and miss, this old servant asserts that you would absolutely not last 10 moves against him. Zhang Zixin couldn't help but swallow upon hearing this and said, Uncle Zhang. Is everything you said true? Uncle Zhang stroked his snow-white beard and said with a smile, Miss. I can only say that this is still a conservative estimate. His true strength is probably even greater than this. Otherwise, why do you think those arrogant and fierce generals under him are willing to be commanded by him? Zhang Zixin couldn't help but murmur upon hearing this, then it seems we still need to get in touch with this great Tang emperor. And this great Tang emperor seems to look quite good too. Zhang Zixin looked at the full moon in the sky, stuck out her tongue, and licked her lips. Meanwhile, in the West Liang prince's residence, Qin Tian sneezed and cursed, Hachu. Which damn person is cursing me behind my back? Reporting to your majesty. Xiaoyao Wang requests an audience. Proclaim. Yes. Proclaim. Xiaoyao Wang is granted an audience. Not long after, Shen Wanson came before Qin Tian, knelt down, and said, reporting to your majesty. The personnel heading to the Beastmen have completed changing their attire. They can set off tomorrow. Qin Tian looked at Shen Wanson and said with a smile, Wanson. No need to be formal. Come, sit. Thank you, your majesty. Reporting to your majesty. Chief Eunuch Cao has sent someone with a secret letter. Present it. Yes. After receiving the secret letter, Qin Tian glanced at it and then said coldly, this Blade God sect is truly not afraid of death. Issue the order. Effective immediately. Shadow Guard. Brocade Guard. Strengthen surveillance on the Blade God sect. Order Zhuge Liang to set off immediately and come to West Liang to see me. Yes. The next morning, Zhuge Liang was waiting outside Qin Tian's room. After Qin Tian finished washing up, he received Zhuge Liang. Kongming. Your Majesty is rich now. This storage ring is for you, it contains a total of 300 million high-grade spiritual stones. I presume you've also received news about the Blade God sect's small actions. Now that I have money, whatever materials you want for array formations and puppets, just tell me, and I can satisfy you. But I have only one requirement. I want the Blade God sect annihilated. Of course. You must be very careful about some people who cannot be touched. We cannot afford to provoke them yet. Also, after you finish dealing with the Blade God sect, improve various array formations within the Great Tang territory. I will be away during this time, and it's hard to say when I will return. In the past, without money, big constructions couldn't be undertaken, but now I have money. I hope to see a different Great Tang when I return. Upon hearing this, Zhuge Liang knelt down and bowed, saying, your subject. I will definitely not fail your majesty's trust. Seeing this, Qin Tian hurriedly stepped forward and helped Zhuge Liang up, saying, get up, get up. Kongming, what are you doing? Between us, ruler and subject, there's no need to be so particular in private. It's tiring for me this way too. Your Majesty. Propriety cannot be abandoned. Qin Tian felt a headache upon hearing this and said, all right. All right. Have it your way. As a modern person, Qin Tian still hadn't gotten used to this so-called ancient etiquette because it was truly too tiring. However, there was nothing he could do. As the emperor, he was destined to accept all of this. Here are the pills you will need for future development. These are military pills. Our elite troops are basically at the peak of the innate realm now. Afterwards, distribute this batch of pills to help them break through. Spare no effort in cultivating the elite troops. Whatever they need, we will try our best to satisfy. Remember. Oh, right. When you go to annihilate the Blade God sect, bring Lu Bowen along and dig out the 2 mid-grade spiritual veins beneath Blade God Island. If the other 2 sects dare to cause trouble, annihilate them as well. Your subject. Your Majesty. Now that Qin Tian's wallet was full, his words were unusually firm. Previously, due to lack of money and materials, Zhuge Liang, this array formation master, couldn't fully utilize his abilities. Now, with the support of Qin Tian's vast financial resources, Zhuge Liang finally found the opportunity to showcase his skills. After sending off Zhuge Liang, Qin Tian looked in the direction of the beastmen, his heart filled with fervor. As a modern person, he knew that the beastmen were where he could get rich. Next, he was going to start frantically making money on the beastmen's territory. Pills, array formations, puppets. Qin Tian was going to snatch meat from the hands of the 3 great empires next. Qin Tian, with the system by his side, buying things in the system's mall was 10% cheaper than buying outside. Although Qin Tian's current strength was not yet sufficient to contend with the empires, even a dynasty could directly control Qin Tian by paying a small price. This did not affect Qin Tian's trade much. After all, he was going to do business, not fight a war. A full meal now versus full meals forever, Qin Tian believed the beastmen could still weigh the pros and cons clearly. Chapter 49. Completing the side quest. Just as Qin Tian was preparing for matters related to the orcs, a brocade guard ran up to Qin Tian, knelt down, and said, "Greetings, Your Majesty. Rise and speak." "Thank you, Your Majesty. Reporting to Your Majesty. News has come from Kyoto. Chief Eunuch Cao has broken through to the Diyuan realm, and Marshal Bai Qi has successfully controlled the Yan country and Qi. Understood. Issue an order to Cao Zhengchun. Tell him not to stay in Kyoto anymore, have him take the brocade guard and go out with Zhuge Liang to see the world. You may withdraw." Yes. Qin Tian was somewhat surprised by Cao Zhengchun's breakthrough to the Diyuan realm. Most of the experts who followed Qin Tian earliest are now in the middle or late stage of the Danyuan realm, and even Zhao Yun is only at the peak of the Danyuan realm, still a considerable distance from being able to consume a Diyuan pill. Yet, this Cao Zhengchun, without the aid of pills, managed to break through to the Diyuan realm before Zhao Yun and the others, which was something Qin Tian had never expected. This shows just how heaven-defying the heaven rank high-grade child skill is. In fact, what Qin Tian didn't know was that ever since Cao Zhengchun started following him, he had always been in the rear, with almost no opportunity to act in front of Qin Tian. As more and more experts gathered around Qin Tian, Cao Zhengchun developed a sense of crisis. He feared he would gradually become a marginalized figure, as there were simply too many outstanding generals around Qin Tian, while he could only remain confined to Kyoto. Therefore, driven by this sense of crisis, Cao Zhengchun used the power of the dragon vein to cultivate frantically, and finally, his hard work paid off, he successfully broke through to the Diyuan realm. As the system's voice echoed in Qin Tian's mind, Qin Tian murmured, "Has it finally come?" Qin Tian actually had high expectations for the rewards of this mission. After all, the Great Tang had annexed 2 dynasties ranked within the top 1,000, and its destiny had been greatly enhanced, so the rewards should be good this time. Ding! Congratulations host on completing the side quest. Ding! Rewards are being calculated. Ding! Reward calculation is complete. Please check. Host. Upon hearing this, Qin Tian immediately chanted inwardly, "Extract rewards." Ding! Reward extraction successful. Ding! Congratulations host on obtaining the third-rate Marshal General's gift pack. Ding! Congratulations host on obtaining the Civil Official's gift pack. Ding! Congratulations host on unlocking the Special Troop Type Talent Lock. Ding! Congratulations host on obtaining one special character summoning card. Ding. Congratulations host on obtaining one special character summoning card. Ding. Congratulations host on the increase in dynasty destiny. Spiritual energy within the Great Tang has doubled. Qin Tian immediately felt a world-altering change in the density of the surrounding spiritual energy. As the spiritual energy concentration increased, numerous instances of martial artists breaking through were heard from within Xiliang city. Inside the Tianxuan auction house, Zhang Zixin sensed the change in the world's spiritual energy and couldn't help but smile. This great Tang emperor has a grand gesture. Could it be that she has obtained another high-grade spiritual veins? The spiritual energy density has increased so much. Give the order. The change in the Great Tang's spiritual energy must be kept absolutely secret. The Tianxuan auction house is to rapidly establish branches in Kyoto and Gui province. Yes. Zhang Zixin looked at the sky and murmured, this Great Tang will be the place of my rise. Great Tang Emperor. You really have many secrets. Qin Tian sensed the drastic change in the world's spiritual energy. His expression immediately changed, and he roared, give the order. Command La 1/4 Bu, Zhao Yun, and Li Kunxiao to immediately depart for Yun province to reinforce Mengtian. Your Majesty. Ever since the spiritual energy within the Great Tang surged, the attacks from the monster beasts in the southern monster beast mountain range have become much more frequent than before. This time, the spiritual energy within the Great Tang increased by a full double. Wouldn't the monster beasts in the south attack Zhenan Pass in Yun province like mad? The last time the spiritual energy surged tenfold, Mengtian, in order to suppress the monster beast riot, directly used military souls to suppress the beast tide. Now that the spiritual energy concentration has doubled, the pressure Mengtian will face is likely to be unprecedented. As for the sea beast tide in the east, it should not be affected by the increase in spiritual energy on land. Guan Yu alone should be able to handle it. Having made the arrangements, Qin Tian opened the civil officials and martial generals gift packs. Ding. Congratulations host on obtaining 500 third-rate martial generals with cultivation at the early stage of the Danyuan realm. Ding. Congratulations host on obtaining 500 civil officials with cultivation at the peak of the Poshu realm. Qin Tian was quite pleased looking at these two gift packs. After all, there were truly not many people he could trust now. With the arrival of this group of people, his control over the entire Great Tang would undoubtedly be greatly enhanced. After all, the Great Tang is no longer the Great Tang of the past. The current Great Tang has annexed the Yan country and Qi, expanding its territory by nearly 10 times. Its population has even reached over 130 billion. Qin Tian had always been troubled by how to control all the territory within Qi and the Yan country. Before obtaining this batch of civil officials and martial generals, he didn't even dare to implement the New Deal reforms within Qi and the Yan country. Now, with the support of this batch of civil officials and martial generals, Qin Tian suddenly felt confident. Reporting to Your Majesty. Nearly 1,000 experts have suddenly appeared outside the prince's mansion, requesting an audience. I will not see them. Have them go directly to Kyoto to find Zhuge Liang and Liu Bowen. This is my waste token. Take it to them. Yes. After speaking, Qin Tian continued to chant inwardly, use special character summoning card. Ding. Special character summoning card used successfully. The characters will arrive by the host's side within half an hour. Ding. Congratulations host on obtaining Uyazi. Ding. Congratulations host on obtaining Hua Tuo. Immediately, Qin Tian opened the attribute interfaces of the two. Name. Uyazi, Heaven Rank Artifact Refiner. Cultivation. Early stage of Di Yuan Realm. Cultivation Method. Fire Source Art. Heaven Rank High Grade. Can be upgraded. Physique. Fire Source Body. Talent. Artifact Refining. Passive Skill. Can increase success rate by 30% and spiritual artifact quality by 30% when refining artifacts. Troop Type. 3000 Artifact Refiner Apprentices. Peak of Poshu Realm. Zon Grade Artifact Refiners. Qin Tian was astonished to see that Uyazi actually came with 3000 Artifact Refiner Apprentices. After all, who doesn't like free labor? Moreover, although Qin Tian currently doesn't have many ores that can refine Earth rank weapons, the ores that can refine yellow grade and Zon grade weapons are piled up like mountains. Furthermore, the elite troops in Qin Tian's hands are still using yellow-grade weapons, and re-equipping the troops is also a concern for Qin Tian. After all, it requires too much money. Now it's good. With these 3,000 artifact refiner apprentices of Uyizi, Qin Tian believes that in the next few years, his troops will definitely be able to re-equip with Zon-grade weapons and armor. As for the cannon fodder troops, many of their weapons are still low-grade mundane weapons. After the elite troops are fully re-equipped, Qin Tian plans to replace the items in their hands with yellow-grade weapons. Name: Hua Tuo, 9th grade alchemist. 9th grade physician. Cultivation: early stage of Di Yuan realm. Cultivation method: blazing wood codex. Heaven rank high grade. Can be upgraded. Physique: blazing wood divine body. Talent: blazing flame. Passive skill: can increase success rate by 30% and pill quality by 30% when refining pills. Healer: passive skill: can increase medicinal effect by 50% and success rate by 50% when treating injuries and illnesses. Troop type: 3,000 elixir refiner apprentices. 5th grade alchemists. Peak of Po Shu realm. 3,000 physician apprentices. 5th grade physicians. Peak of Po Shu realm. Qin Tian couldn't help but be overjoyed looking at the troop types granted by Hua Tuo. Previously, his spiritual field could only be used to grow dragon tooth rice. Now, with the support of this batch of apprentices, Qin Tian can start trying to develop the uses of the spiritual field. After all, although buying pills in the system is 10% cheaper than on the market, now that Qin Tian has alchemists in hand, he can save a large sum of money on the cost of pills. After all, the amount of pills required by the army is terrifying, and Qin Tian's annual investment in army pills accounts for the largest portion of his finances. Chapter 50. The Beast Tide at South Pass. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. After reading the attribute interfaces of the two, Qin Tian clicked on the talent interface for the special troop types. Troop type: Brocade Guard. Talent: Valor. Passive skill: increases attack power by 50% during combat. Troop type: Shadow Guard. Talent: Killing Stealth. Active skill: when activated, can teleport to any teammate's side, ignoring all interference factors. Ignores all distance. Qin Tian looked at these two special troop types and nodded with satisfaction. The talents of the Brocade Guard and Shadow Guard were both quite strong, especially the Shadow Guard. With this skill, it would be incredibly difficult to kill them. Afterward, Qin Tian received Uyizi and Hua Tuo and arranged for them to stay in West Liang. West Liang was rich in mineral resources, and the spiritual fields were also here. Therefore, Qin Tian simply arranged for them all to be in West Liang. In addition, Qin Tian also built a Datang Danjie and a weapon pavilion for Uyizi and Hua Tuo. Yun Province, Zhenan Pass. Reporting to General Meng. Scout report. A large number of monster beasts are gathering in the Fire Dragon Valley, 300 li away from Zhenan Pass. Among them, the number of 4th and 5th grade monster beasts has exceeded 10,000. Meng Tian frowned upon hearing this and said, "When will the reinforcements from the imperial court arrive?" Reporting, General. Your Majesty has already ordered General Zhao Yun, General Le 1/4 Bu, and General Li Kunxiao to lead troops to reinforce us, and they will arrive in Liangzhou in just 2 days. 2 days. I'm afraid it's already too late. No. The monster beasts below Zhenan Pass are already gathering more and more, and I'm afraid it won't be long before they launch an attack on our Zhenan Pass. Pass down the order. Scouts are to extend another 50 li outwards. Move all the demon-breaking ballistas from the armory. Zhenan Army. All to the city wall. Golden Fire Cavalry, all mount up. Each unit check the defensive formations. Prepare the major cities in Yun Province to receive the civilians entering the city. This time, the situation is probably different from before. Immediately send a message to the imperial court. Say that this beast tide is fiercer than any previous beast tide. Zhenan Pass is in danger of being breached. Please ask the imperial court to quickly send a large army to reinforce us. Zhenan Pass was the only passage from the Monster Beast mountain range into the Great Tang Dynasty. Under Meng Tian's organization, Zhenan Pass had been reinforced with special cement, making it difficult for even third-grade monster beasts to shake. In the last beast tide, the Zhenan army, relying solely on the city wall, made it difficult for over 10 million low-grade monster beasts to advance even an inch. However, this time was different. Due to the spiritual energy surge within the Great Tang territory again, many high-grade monster beasts had gathered at the foot of Zhenan Pass. Fifth-grade monster beasts were equivalent to human Poshu realm experts. This time, there were over 10,000 fourth and fifth-grade monster beasts alone. Although the Zhenan army had 1 million troops, most of them were not even Haodian martial artists, with the average cultivation around second-rate martial artists. In the face of such a beast tide, the role they could play was negligible. West Liang, Prince Qi's mansion. Qin Tian, who was preparing to make a fortune on the orcs' territory, was stopped by a piece of news. Qin Tian's shadow jade trembled, and when Qin Tian took out the shadow jade, Zhuge Liang's figure appeared before Qin Tian. Reporting to Your Majesty. General Meng of Zhenan Pass reports that Yun Province is facing an unprecedented beast tide. The number of 4th and 5th grade monster beasts already confirmed to be over 10,000, and Zhenan Pass is in danger of being breached. Qin Tian stood up abruptly upon hearing this and cursed, "Damn it, they came at the perfect time. Where are Zhao Yun and the others? General Zhao and the others are still on their way to Yun Province. Your subject has already sent a flying boat to pick them up, but due to the long distance, it will still take 2 days for them to reach Yun Province." Qin Tian rubbed his head upon hearing this and said, "All right, I understand. You continue to the Blade God sect. Your Majesty will personally lead the team to Yun Province. All right. You continue on your way. Your subject. Your Majesty." Qin Tian looked at Xu Chu and the others in front of him and said, "You've heard it too. I will now assign tasks. Shen Wanson. Your subject is here. Your Majesty orders you to proceed to Yumun Pass first, and after Your Majesty has pacified the beast tide at Zhenan Pass, Your Majesty will proceed to Zhenan Pass to rendezvous with you. Your subject, Your Majesty. Xu Chu, Dian Wei, heed the order. Your general is here. Your Majesty orders you two to immediately assemble the Tiger Brave army and proceed quickly to Zhenan Pass with Your Majesty. Your general accepts the order." Qin Tian waved his hand, and a small flying boat appeared before everyone. This flying boat of Qin Tian's was an Earth-rank flying boat, which cost Qin Tian 30 million mid-grade spiritual stones bought from the system mall. It could carry a total of 6,000 troops. Although this small flying boat was small in size, it was fast. It would only take at most an hour to directly reach Yun Province from West Liang. The compensation from the overseas 3 sects was a Zon-grade large flying boat, which was also the cheapest and slowest flying boat. It could carry 100,000 troops, and its flying speed was only comparable to a Poshu realm martial artist. However, this type of flying boat was indeed the most widely used on the entire continent because it could carry many people and goods, and it consumed fewer spiritual stones. It only cost 3,000 mid-grade spiritual stones to fly for a day, while Qin Tian's Earth-rank flying boat cost tens of thousands of high-grade spiritual stones to fly for a day. Qin Tian looked at the small flying boat in front of him and said loudly, "Board the ship." Immediately afterward, the Tiger Brave army and 3,000 brocade guard boarded the flying boat with Qin Tian. On Zhenan Pass, Meng Tian looked at the distant mountains where beast roars occasionally came from, his brows furrowed with an unresolvable worry. A soldier ran to Meng Tian and knelt down, saying, "Reporting, General. Scout reports. The beast tide is less than 100 li away from Zhenan Pass." Meng Tian waved his hand upon hearing this and said, "Understood. Notify everyone. All enter a state of readiness." Following Meng Tian's order, all soldiers on Zhenan Pass entered a state of combat. The demon-breaking ballistas on Zhenan Pass were already fully drawn, waiting only for Meng Tian's command. Roar! Roar! As the roars of the monster beasts got closer and closer, Meng Tian stood on the city wall and shouted, "Everyone pay attention." The soldiers on Zhenan Pass quickly entered a state upon hearing this, their eyes fixed on the valley ahead. Archers drew their bows fully, standing ready. Rumble. The sound of the monster beast's footsteps went from far to near. Scouts who had climbed to higher ground continuously reported the distance of the monster beasts. 10 li. 8 li. 3 li. Just as the scout counted to 3 li, Meng Tian roared, "Fire!" Following Meng Tian's order, several million demon-breaking ballistas shot towards the monster beast horde. Swish, swish, swish. The charging monster beasts were continuously pierced by arrows, and blood quickly dyed the ground red. The fallen monster beasts were quickly trampled into minced meat by the monster beasts rushing from behind. In the first wave of attack, a 10-li vacuum appeared in front of Zhenan Pass, but it was quickly filled by the monster beasts that came later. Meng Tian looked at the monster beast horde below Zhenan Pass, his expression becoming increasingly heavy, because the stock of demon-breaking ballistas was not enough to get through this beast tide. If the demon-breaking ballistas were used up, then what they would face would be the charge of over 10 million monster beasts, and with the defensive strength of Zhenan Pass, it was absolutely impossible to hold it. Chapter 51. Zhenan Pass is broken. Standing in the void, Meng Tian looked at the endless army of monster beasts charging towards Zhenan Pass, his eyes filled with worry. The demon-breaking ballistas were already firing at full power. There were a total of 80,000 demon-breaking ballistas distributed along the 60-mile stretch of Zhenan Pass. Reporting, General. Our ballista bolts are about to run out. Meng Tian was startled upon hearing this, then said, all right. Understood. Prepare to activate the defensive formation. Golden Fire Cavalry, push forward. Once the defensive formation is breached, the Golden Fire Cavalry will lead the charge and fight to the death to defend Zhenan Pass. My Zhenan army will live and die with Zhenan Pass. Yes. The battle had just begun less than half an hour ago, yet the demon-breaking ballista bolts on the city walls were already depleted. Because of the previous beast tides, a portion of the stored demon-breaking ballistas had been consumed, and the quartz supplies were still en route. The remaining demon-breaking ballistas were simply not enough to support the full power firing of the demon-breaking ballistas. Reporting, General. The ballista bolts are used up. Meng Tian sighed and channeled his spiritual energy, saying, everyone, retreat from the city walls. Activate the defensive formation. Following Meng Tian's command, the defensive formation of Zhenan Pass was activated. A light barrier appeared 2 miles in front of Zhenan Pass, enveloping the entire Zhenan Pass. The Zhenan Pass of Great Tang was the last pass between Great Tang and the Monster Beast mountain range. Once Zhenan Pass was breached, there would be no more passes within the territory of Great Tang, and all the people in Yun Province and Yang Province would become food for the monster beasts. Yun Province and Yang Province were located in a flat plain region, with no natural defenses to rely on. For monster beasts, humans were the best blood food. Humans were the spirits of all creation, and human flesh and blood had great benefits for low-level monster beasts, helping them increase their intelligence and making it easier for them to transform. The higher the cultivation of human martial artists, the more beneficial it was for the monster beasts' cultivation. This was also the real reason why human kingdoms adjacent to the monster beast mountain range were attacked by beast tides. Every time a monster beast cultivated to the 7th rank, it would face the difficulty of transformation. However, some monster beasts had too low of a bloodline, making transformation very difficult. Therefore, many monster beasts with inferior bloodlines maintained their beast forms even after cultivating to the 8th or even 9th rank. Every beast tide was led by high-level monster beasts, bringing along a large number of low-level monster beasts to charge towards human passes. In every beast tide, a large number of monster beasts would die in the monster beast mountain range. This both reduced the competition among monster beasts within the monster beast mountain range and brought considerable benefits to the high-level monster beasts. Meng Tian, clad in golden armor, stood in the air. Looking at the resolute faces of the Zhenan army below, Meng Tian slowly said, brothers. We are the first line of defense for Great Tang, and also the last line of defense. Behind us are the hundreds of millions of people in Yun Province and Yang Province. Zhenan Pass is currently in imminent danger. As soldiers, we should use our bodies to shield the people. Behind us are our elders and fellow villagers. Are our families, wives, children, and also our parents. Once Zhenan Pass falls, the people behind us will become food for the monster beasts. Now, tell me, can you allow that? The million soldiers of Zhenan Pass roared in unison, no. 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 Very good. You and I are both soldiers. Today, everyone, fight alongside me. The city stands, the men stand. The city falls, the men die. Great Tang will stand forever. Great Tang will stand forever. Seeing that the entire Zhenan army was determined to fight to the death, Meng Tian said, very good. These are my soldiers. All troops, listen up. Golden Fire Cavalry in the front. Zhenan Army in the rear. Be ready for battle at any moment. Yes. As the defensive formation was activated, the Beast Tide launched a suicidal charge towards the formation. Ripples appeared on the defensive formation of Zhenan Pass. After charging for a while, perhaps the high-level monster beasts behind this Beast Tide grew impatient. Tens of thousands of monster beasts stopped their charge and automatically moved to the side. Meng Tian looked towards the direction of the Beast Tide as if sensing something. 6 8th rank monster beasts were seen striding across the air, moving forward side by side, followed by 37 7th rank monster beasts. There were also 306th rank monster beasts, and the remaining low-level monster beasts stretched as far as the eye could see. Meng Tian looked at the monster beast in front of him and said, "You must be the overlord of the monster beast mountain range, right?" The leading 8th rank peak rhino horned yak said upon hearing this, "Yes. Human. Give up resisting. You cannot stop me. Our monster beast mountain range only wants the land of your Yun province and Yang province. If you retreat now, I can let you leave." 8th rank monster beasts possessed extremely high intelligence. Its monster beast senses told it that the human in front of it was quite dangerous. Therefore, when the rhino horned yak looked at Meng Tian, there was a strong hint of apprehension in its eyes. Ha ha ha. A mere monster beast dares to tell me to surrender. My great Tang soldiers only die in battle, they never surrender. I know the 7th rank formation cannot stop you, but I can tell you this, if you want to get past here, it will only happen when we are all dead. Such big words. I have lived for tens of thousands of years and seen countless human military officers as courageous as you, but they all turned into blood food in my mouth. I believe you will be no exception. As a Dan Yuan realm mid-stage, you should taste pretty good. So, prepare to die. After the rhino-horned yak finished speaking, the horn on its head lit up, and a beam of light shot towards the city defending formation. In front of this light beam, the defensive formation of Zhenan Pass was instantly torn apart as if it were made of paper. That beam of light directly tore a 4-mile wide gap in the dozens of miles long city wall. If the Zhenan army had still been defending on the city wall at this time, the losses would have been immense. At the instant the formation shattered, Meng Tian's aura continuously surged. The million Zhenan army soldiers sensed that a portion of their inner strength was being drawn away, and the more it was drawn, the more panicked they became. Seeing this, Meng Tian said, "Brothers, don't panic. This is my secret technique." Meng Tian absorbed half of the Zhenan army's inner strength into his body. Before breaking through to the Poshu realm, martial artists stored inner strength within their bodies, only after the Poshu realm was its spiritual energy. This half of the inner strength directly boosted Meng Tian's cultivation from the Dan Yuan realm mid-stage to the Tian Yuan realm early stage. The Golden Fire Cavalry also unleashed their full power at this time, transforming into 10 Golden Fire Lions at the Tian Yuan realm early stage. Looking at the Tian Yuan realm experts that suddenly appeared, the rhino-horned yak coldly snorted, "HMPH. What can mere Tian Yuan realm early stage do to me? Attack. Kill them all." Meng Tian roared, "Zhenan army, heed my order. Defend the breach to the death. Surround and kill the monster beasts." Yes. The million Zhenan army shield soldiers held their massive shields, forged from fine steel, at the very front. The spearmen were behind, their snow-white spearheads extending out from behind the shields, glinting with cold light. Just as both sides were about to clash, a voice came. "Yang Li, commander of the Brocade Guard in Great Tang's Yun province. Leading my troops to support General Meng. Wu Zhang, commander of the Brocade Guard in Great Tang's Yang province. Leading my troops to support General Meng." Upon hearing this, Meng Tian turned to look at the two Brocade Guard commanders in flying fish uniforms, both at the peak of the Poshu realm, leading 200 Grandmaster realm Brocade Guards to provide support. He couldn't help but laugh heartily, "Ha ha ha. Thank you both for coming to assist. Wonderful. Wonderful. Who says we have no clothes? We share our robes with you. Everyone. Fight the enemy with me." Meng Tian was the first to charge towards the rhino-horned yak. The other 7 legions of the Golden Fire Cavalry also engaged the remaining 8th rank monster beasts. The remaining 3 legions began slaughtering the other 6th and 7th rank monster beasts. Tens of thousands of monster beasts continuously poured through the breached gap and began charging towards the Zhenan army's formation. Meanwhile, the supporting brocade guards followed the 3-3 system, moving around to provide assistance wherever needed. At this moment, individual bravery seemed so insignificant here. Chapter 52. Zhenan army fights to the death. The gap blasted open by the demon beasts had now become the battlefield for the Zhenan army. Countless demon beasts poured into Zhenan Pass through that gap, but they were all held back by the Zhenan army using their flesh and blood. A Poshu realm early-stage deputy general of the Zhenan army calmly directed the battle as the demon beasts continuously surged in. When the shield soldiers in the front fell, those behind would fill their place. The two sides continued to wear each other down like this. Thousands of fifth-tier demon beasts in the sky posed a huge threat to the Zhenan army. The defense line of 1,000,000 troops seemed so powerless in front of them. The two brocade guard commanders-in-chief activated their bravery and jointly held back 8 fifth-tier demon beasts. Wu Zhong forced back a 5th-tier peak demon beast with a single slash and said with a bitter smile, "Old Yang. This time we've suffered a great loss." Yang Li heard this and laughed. "What do you kid want to say? I still have a bottle of peach blossom wine bestowed by your majesty that I haven't drunk yet. I don't know which bastard will benefit from it later." Yang Li split a 5th-tier early-stage demon beast in half with a single slash and cursed, "Damn it. What time is it, and you're still thinking about your petty possessions?" At the same time, the rest of the brocade guard were hunting the 4th-tier demon beasts that appeared on the battlefield. With their close cooperation, not a single 4th-tier demon beast could withstand 3 moves from them. The figures of the brocade guard greatly relieved the pressure on the front-line defense along this several-mile-long battle line. They forcefully charged into the Zhenan army's formations with their strong bodies. A 5th-tier demon beast rushing into the formation easily took the lives of thousands of Zhenan army soldiers. However, even so, the Zhenan army soldiers were accustomed to this. Having guarded Zhenan Pass for many years, they were already used to such scenes, so they didn't show much commotion at this time and still maintained their formation in an orderly manner. In the sky, the 3 golden fire cavalry responsible for surrounding and killing the 7th-tier demon beasts all returned to reinforce. After killing all the 5th-tier demon beasts that rushed into the Zhenan army's formation, they ascended again and began to slaughter the remaining 7th-tier demon beasts. After experiencing several such slaughters, the remaining 5th-tier demon beasts all learned their lesson. The intelligence of 5th-tier demon beasts was already not weaker than that of adults, so at this time, they were all wandering around the periphery, slacking off, much like how people slack off at work. At an altitude of 10,000 meters, Meng Tian was at full power. Furious Lion Qi. Following Meng Tian's roar, a lion bathed in fire appeared behind him and charged towards the rhino-horned yak. The rhino-horned yak looked at the fiery lion in front of it and roared, "Good timing." Immediately, the horn on the rhino-horned yak's head lit up, and a beam of light shot directly towards the fiery lion. Seeing this, Meng Tian quickly seized this rare opportunity and flashed to the side of the rhino-horned yak. Meng Tian's figure appeared so small in front of the 30-meter-tall rhino-horned yak, but in the next second, a spear intent erupted from Meng Tian's body, and a 100-meter-long spear light struck the rhino-horned yak. Roar! The rhino-horned yak roared in anger, having suffered a heavy blow. A huge wound appeared on its body, extending from its chest all the way down to its thigh. Blood stained Meng Tian's armor red. After one blow, Meng Tian's aura was somewhat unstable, and there was a hidden danger of falling from the Earth Origin Realm peak. Meng Tian's cultivation was ultimately not his own, so its power was greatly reduced when used. In fact, it wasn't that Meng Tian hadn't thought of gathering all the Golden Fire Cavalry together to summon the military souls, but the Golden Fire Lion summoned that way would only reach the late stage of the Tian Yuan realm, which wouldn't have much effect on this battle. Moreover, if he did that, the million Zhenan army soldiers would not last long in front of the many 6th and 7th tier demon beasts. In just a quarter of an hour, they would become food for the demon beasts. This was not the worst. The worst was that if so many demon beasts rushed into Yun province and Yang province, the billions of citizens would not be spared. The heavily injured rhino-horned yak said angrily, "Human. You've angered me." Looking at the enraged rhino-horned yak, Meng Tian's heart sank to the bottom. He had thought that this move would be enough to kill the rhino-horned yak, or at least heavily injure it and make it lose its ability to move. However, it seemed that Meng Tian had clearly underestimated the rhino-horned yak's defense and the gap between their realms. Seeing this, a fierce light flashed in Meng Tian's eyes and he said, "Come on. Only one of us will live today." After Meng Tian finished speaking, he mobilized all the spiritual power in his body, preparing for a desperate duel with the rhino-horned yak. A terrifying aura rose from Meng Tian's body, and a martial general wearing golden armor and holding a golden long spear gradually appeared behind Meng Tian. The rhino-horned yak looked at the enormous Dharma image and couldn't help but feel an unprecedented sense of crisis. He knew that the moment of life and death had arrived. After this blow, everything would come to an end. Meng Tian grasped the bottom of the long spear in his hand and raised it above his head. The giant behind Meng Tian followed suit and made the same movement. The horn on the rhino-horned yak's head shone brightly, and a world-destroying energy was condensing. A brutal look flashed in the rhino-horned yak's eyes. The wild nature of the demon beast was now fully displayed. In the next second, two attacks containing immense energy collided. Boom! A fierce light flashed, followed by a huge explosion that entered their ears. As the light dissipated, a section of the silver giant horn on the rhino-horned yak's head was broken, and blood flowed uncontrollably from its body, especially the wound that Meng Tian had cut open, which was now several times larger. Meng Tian, who was not far away, had already fallen to the middle stage of the Dan Yuan realm at this time. His armor was also tattered, and a trace of blood hung from the corner of his mouth. The soldiers and demon beasts below all stopped their fighting and looked up at the sky. 10 golden fire lions all flew to Meng Tian's side. "General, are you all right? We'll cover you. You go quickly." Meng Tian raised his hand and said, "I'm all right. You go. I, Meng Tian, have fought my entire life and have never been a deserter. You are about to reach your limit, but you can still go. I will cover your retreat. If you all die here, your majesty will lose an elite army in the future. The golden fire cavalry cannot be wiped out here. General, if you don't go, we won't go either. We'll stay here with you." Meng Tian heard this and smiled bitterly, shaking his head, "Alas. All right. Then let's fight one last battle. Where is the Zhenan army?" The remaining 400,000 Zhenan army soldiers below shouted in unison, "Here. Follow this general to kill the enemy." Yes. At this time, the Zhenan army reached unprecedented unity. There were no unnecessary emotions on everyone's faces. The entire 400,000 Zhenan army supported each other, stepping on the piled-up demon beast corpses dozens of meters high, and looked at the demon beasts in front of them. Having fought until now, they were all at the end of their rope. For some reason, when those demon beasts looked at the Zhenan army in front of them, a hint of awe flashed in their eyes. Chapter 53. Patrol Envoy. Wu Zhang helped up the heavily injured Yang Li beside him and laughed. "You, old Yang, are just too weak. You're already done after only killing a few 5th-tier monster beasts." Yang Li wiped away a trace of blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "Get lost. You're the one who's done for." Yang Li pushed Wu Zhang and stumbled as he pulled out the saber stuck in the ground. He tucked the saber under his arm, wiped away the bloodstains, and roared, "Yun Province Brocade Guard, assemble. Let's teach the people from Yang Province a good lesson. Teach them how to fight. This is our home ground. Don't let those people from Yang Province mess it up." Yes. Following Yang Li's command, 60 Yun Province Brocade Guard, almost all injured, stood behind Yang Li with dripping sabers. Seeing this, Wu Zhang cursed with a smile, "Damn it. You're challenging me." Wu Zhang rested his saber on his shoulder and roared, "Yang Province Brocade Guard, assemble. Yun Province said they want to teach us a lesson. Can we agree to that?" 53 Yang Province Brocade Guard gathered behind Wu Zhang and shouted in unison, "No." The rhino-horned yak looked at Meng Tian and his group and sneered, "You still want to leave in your current state? Stay here." As the rhino-horned yak finished speaking, the monster beasts charged towards Meng Tian and the others. "Vicious beasts, don't be so arrogant. We, the Tiger Brave Army's twin heroes, have arrived." With a roar, Shuchu and Dian Wei directly charged into the battlefield, followed closely by the Tiger Brave Army. Meng Tian's reaction was also quick enough. Seeing the Tiger Brave Army arrive, he led the Golden Fire Cavalry to lower their altitude and land on the ground battlefield. Their spiritual energy was no longer sufficient, but their physical strength remained, which was more than enough to deal with the monster beasts below the third tier. Qin Tian's flying boat lowered its altitude. Qin Tian, clad in golden armor, holding a Fang Tian halberd and with a precious sword hanging from his waist, walked out of the flying boat and stood in the air. Behind him followed 3,000 brocade guard. Qin Tian looked at the battlefield, where corpses were piled up like mountains, and said coldly, "Kill." As soon as Qin Tian finished speaking, he took the lead and charged into the fourth-tier monster beast group. The brocade guard behind him immediately activated Berserk and attacked the monster beasts. In the battlefield in the sky, Shu Chu summoned the Crimson Flame Demon Tiger and began to encircle and kill the 8th-tier monster beasts. After the battle just now, all the 8th-tier monster beasts had less than 1/10 of their strength remaining, and they were not lightly injured. So, Shu Chu and the others killed them effortlessly. Shu Chu flashed and appeared in front of the rhino-horned yak. With a swing of his long spear, a huge spear light swept out. Seeing this, a hint of regret appeared in the rhino-horned yak's eyes. How great it would have been if it hadn't been greedy for the surging spiritual energy and flesh within the great Tang Dynasty back then. The rhino-horned yak closed its eyes as it watched the spear light approach. Swish! With the sound of a blade cutting through flesh, the rhino-horned yak was directly split into two halves. The other 8th-tier monster beasts, seeing the situation was not good, began to flee. After Dian Wei and the Crimson Flame Demon Tiger eliminated their opponents, they saw the remaining 5 8th-tier monster beasts fleeing in disarray into the Monster Beast Mountain range, and they immediately chased after them. The low-tier monster beasts below, without the threat of the 8th-tier monster beasts, began to flee one after another. Seeing the monster beasts about to escape, Qin Tian channeled his spiritual energy and threw the Fang Tian halberd in his hand downwards with force. Boom! The Fang Tian halberd caused a strong explosion on the ground, blocking the monster beast's retreat. The Dragon Clan aura inadvertently revealed by the low-tier Qin Tian created a strong sense of oppression for the low-tier monster beasts present, making them feel a sense of submission in their hearts. Thus, those low-tier monster beasts stopped their retreat, as if they were all waiting for Qin Tian's final judgment. Qin Tian's figure slowly descended from the sky, his toes stepping on the Fang Tian halberd. He said coldly, "You killed your subjects' men and destroyed your subjects' city walls, and you think you can just leave. Do you think your majesty is a soft persimmon that you can knead however you want?" As Qin Tian's words fell, a vast aura rose. Qin Tian mobilized the luck of the entire great Tang dynasty to bless himself. Qin Tian's cultivation instantly rose to the early Di Yuan realm. The high-tier monster beasts in the sky were all shocked by this terrifying aura and did not dare to move. Because their intuition told them that if they dared to move casually, death would definitely greet them. At this moment, the high-tier monster beasts in the sky looked at Qin Tian with a feeling of facing a strong expert of the Dragon Clan. Qin Tian's aura pressure reduced their combat power by at least half. The most pathetic ones were the 3rd and 4th-tier monster beasts below, who were so scared that they soiled themselves. And Meng Tian was also a clever fellow. While the monster beasts below were suppressed by Qin Tian's aura and couldn't move, he began to lead his men to slaughter the monster beasts that had lost their ability to resist. After all, the Zhenan army's losses this time were too great, and afterwards, a considerable amount would have to be paid out for the pensions of the fallen soldiers. And right now was a good opportunity to earn money. You should know that the inner cores, flesh, bones, fur, and blood of monster beasts are all priceless treasures. It's the same principle as how human flesh is a great tonic for monster beasts. Qin Tian looked at the monster beasts in the sky, a fierce light flashing in his eyes. He bent his legs and leapt into the sky. The Fang Tian halberd followed closely and flew into the air. Berserk was activated, and an even fiercer aura rushed out. War Heaven Halberd Technique, 6th form. God Execution Slash. A sharp surge of energy flew towards the high-tier monster beasts in the sky. The members of the Tiger Brave army had already fled the moment Qin Tian made his move. As Qin Tian's personal army, although they had never seen Qin Tian attack, they more or less had some understanding of Qin Tian's strength. Because Liu Bowen had once said that if you were to say who in the Great Tang had the most terrifying strength, it would be Your Majesty the Emperor. Just think, Even Shuchu and Dian Wei's combat power was already extremely formidable, so how strong would Qin Tian's combat power be, someone who was even more abnormal than them? The Tiger Brave army, who had retreated to the side, were very glad that they had retreated to the side to watch the show, otherwise Qin Tian's move would inevitably affect them. Just as Qin Tian's attack was about to reach the monster beasts in the sky, a sigh came. Alas! Great Tang Emperor! Stop! As the sigh came, the surrounding time seemed to stand still. Qin Tian's devastating blow dissipated in this sigh. The next second, after regaining control of his body, Qin Tian looked at the old man who had appeared in the sky at some point, his pupils constricting slightly in shock, and said, Void Realm. Coming back to his senses, Qin Tian cupped his fists at the old man who had suddenly appeared in the sky and said, May I ask why Senior is obstructing us? Has this junior offended Senior in any way? Why did you capture my subordinates? There was no other way. Facing a mighty expert whose cultivation was at least in the Void Realm, Qin Tian had no choice but to back down. Even if the other party's cultivation was only in the early Void Realm, he could wipe out everyone present with just one finger. The old man heard this and laughed, You haven't offended me. I am the patrol envoy responsible for patrolling this area. I just hope you won't create any more unnecessary slaughter. As the old man's words fell, a voice full of vigor came. Old monkey. You've crossed the line. As the voice fell, a figure appeared in front of Qin Tian. Chapter 54 Compensation. Qin Tian sized up the old man who had suddenly appeared before him, cupping his fists and saying, This junior greets senior. The white-robed old man examined Qin Tian, stroked his white beard, and nodded, You're not bad, kid. The human clan's talents have withered over the years, I didn't expect to meet so many geniuses in this barren land. There is hope for the future of the human clan. Alas! Time is running out, you must seize the opportunity to cultivate. You must grow up as quickly as possible. The future depends on you. For some reason, when Qin Tian heard the old man speak like this, a sense of urgency couldn't help but arise in his heart. After all, for a martial artist whose cultivation was at least in the Po-Shu realm to speak like this, the matter must not be simple. This junior thanks senior for your teachings. After speaking with Qin Tian, Song Zi turned around and said to the old man, Old monkey. You've crossed the line. As patrol envoys, we are not allowed to interfere in the secular affairs of the Tianshuan continent. Have you forgotten the rules of Martial God Island? And you're even taking away 2 geniuses of my human clan. Are you itching for a beating? As Song Zi spoke, a 3-foot-long azure sword appeared in his hand. Qin Tian was completely bewildered upon hearing this. What in the world was Martial God Island? What were these 2 Void Realm powerhouses talking about? Moreover, the black-robed old man in front of him seemed to be from the monster race. Alas! Song Zi. I was born in the Monster Beast Mountain Range, I cannot bear to see the Monster Beast Mountain Range become extinct. Furthermore, the Monster Beast Mountain Range is ultimately a fighting force for our Tianshuan continent, isn't it? Song Zi snorted coldly upon hearing this, HMPH. Don't talk nonsense with me. Seeing this, Qin Tian also understood the situation before him. He knew it was time to act. After all, Song Zi was clearly on his side, while the black-robed old man was on the monster race's side. Since neither side dared to fight, it was time to use their words. As the first-place winner of a debate competition in his previous life, Qin Tian was never afraid of arguing with others. As the golden mouth of a certain unknown second-rate university, Qin Tian had never been afraid of a quarrel. Qin Tian stepped forward and said, Hee. Senior. If your Monster Beast Mountain Range is a fighting force, then is my Great Tang's million-strong army not a fighting force? Your Monster Beast Mountain Range invades my Great Tang without reason every year. You destroy my border defenses. You injure my citizens. Every year, my Great Tang has to spend manpower and resources to deal with the Monster Beast Mountain Range. Thousands of years. A full thousands of years. Do you know how my Great Tang has endured dealing with the monster beasts of the Monster Beast Mountain Range over these thousands of years? I won't mention what happened before. Look at my Great Tang's Zhenan army, a full million-strong army. Now only less than 400,000 remain. If it weren't for the many experts in my Great Tang, perhaps the country would have perished by now. And just when we finally had a chance to avenge ourselves, Senior, you suddenly interfere. You captured my generals. Senior, are you looking down on my human clan? Watching Qin Tian's powerful and resonant speech, Song Zi burst into laughter. Good. Well said. Today, this old man will support you. I want to see how this old bastard will resolve this matter today. The black-robed old man looked at Qin Tian and sighed, alas. My monster race is in the wrong on this matter. How about this? I will give you compensation. Qin Tian laughed loudly upon hearing this, ha ha ha. Compensation. What good compensation? Senior. May I ask if you can resurrect the fallen citizens of my great Tang? No. Ha ha ha. Senior, do you know that among my subordinates, there are infants waiting to be fed below and elderly parents waiting to be served above? Now, because of a single imperial decree from your majesty, they came here without hesitation to protect the great Tang and shed their blood. Now you want to resolve this matter with a light-hearted word of compensation. Are you looking down on my human clan? The black-robed old man laughed loudly upon hearing this, all right. Kid. Don't try to label me. On the Tianquan continent, strength ultimately speaks. This old man is willing to compensate today to give Song Zi face. If this old man is unhappy, do you believe I can directly destroy your great Tang with a single slap? Do you believe it? He's anxious. He's anxious. Seeing this, the corner of Qin Tian's mouth curved slightly. He turned to Song Zi and said, Senior Song. May this junior request the arbitration you mentioned? Song Zi laughed loudly upon hearing this, you can. The existence of the arbitration council is to restrain the martial god realm experts on the Tianquan continent. As long as you want, I will help you report it. Qin Tian's heart skipped a beat upon hearing this. Good heavens. It's over. This senior was actually a martial god realm expert. It's over. I've lost big time. If he had known the other party was a martial god realm expert, Qin Tian would definitely not have dared to speak like this. This move of his was truly like a calf sitting on an electric gate, incredibly awesome with lightning. After all, if he offended a void realm martial artist, he still had room for maneuver. But if he offended a martial god realm expert, wouldn't he be beaten black and blue in minutes? Song Zi looked at the complicated expression on Qin Tian's face and smiled, what? Scared now? Don't worry, he wouldn't dare to attack you. After reaching the martial god realm, every move will be recorded by the will of this world. If discovered during the year-end assessment, death will await him. The black-robed old man knew what his fate would be if he were targeted by the people from the arbitration council, so he said, all right. This old man doesn't have that much time to waste with you. How about this? I'll compensate you with 10 divine crystals. Let's just forget about this matter. As the black-robed old man finished speaking, he flicked his large hand, and 10 crystal-clear crystals flew towards Qin Tian. Then, his entire person disappeared from the spot, taking away the monster beasts from the monster beast mountain range. Qin Tian looked at the 10 divine crystals that didn't have the slightest spiritual energy fluctuation, and looked at Song Zi with a bewildered expression, saying, Senior. This is. Seeing this, Song Zi smiled, Kid. Take it. This is a good thing. However, for you at your current level, it's something that could kill you. These martial god crystals are only used by martial gods for cultivation. One martial god crystal contains energy equivalent to 1 billion supreme grade spirit stones. Now you know its value, right? This old monkey really bled heavily. After all, he only gets 10 divine crystals each year. Alright, kid. I should go too. Cultivate well. Perhaps we will meet again in the near future. After Song Zi finished speaking, he also disappeared from the spot. Qin Tian looked at the devastated battlefield for a long time before recovering. Looking at the battlefield filled with corpses, Meng Tian, who was standing in the void, approached and said, reporting to your majesty. In this battle, the Zhenan army lost 630,000 men. After this battle, the Zhenan army has 430,000 men remaining. Qin Tian, who had recovered, waved his hand and said, I understand. Give the fallen brothers a generous burial. Issue 10 times the amount of pension. For those with elderly parents and children at home, the state will provide for them. Yes. Yang Li, commander of the Brocade Guard in Yun Province. Wu Zhang. Greetings to your majesty. Qin Tian looked at the two men whose wounds were still bleeding, helped them up, and said, alas. You've worked hard. Tell your majesty about your losses. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 55. Transformation of the Zhenan Army. Yang Li stepped forward upon hearing this, cupped his fists, and said, reporting to your majesty. My brocade guard suffered 87 casualties in this battle. Please punish your majesty. Qin Tian's heart ached. He knew that these lost individuals were all summoned, a full 87 people. Once they were gone, they were truly gone. Qin Tian took a deep breath and sighed, alas. All right. You did no wrong, so why would I punish you? In the end, it is I who am incompetent. I could not protect this country, and you are all meritorious subjects. How could I bear to punish you? Yang Li and Wu Zhang heard this, their eyes filled with tears, and they knelt down, saying, your subjects. Thank your majesty for your great grace. Qin Tian looked at the Zhenan army below, covered in blood, exhausted, and collapsed on the ground. Qin Tian choked up and said, soldiers. You are all excellent. It is I who am incompetent. I could not protect this great Tang. I could not protect you. It is my fault. The Zhenan army, who had all collapsed on the ground, now struggled to their feet, half kneeling towards Qin Tian in salute. Even those lying on stretchers struggled to get up and said, we are willing to die for your majesty. We are willing to die for your majesty. Just as the remaining 400,000 Zhenan army collectively shouted loudly, a massive black dragon was gradually condensing in the sky. Qin Tian's pupils slightly contracted at this sight, and even Meng Tian was stunned, his eyes wide. As the black dragon in the sky finished condensing, a ray of colorful light descended from the heavens, shining upon everyone present. The Zhenan army soldiers who were severely wounded and near death on stretchers miraculously stood up. Immediately after, the aura of the 430,000 Zhenan army changed drastically. After the colorful light dissipated, the lowest cultivation of all Zhenan army soldiers reached the peak of the postnatal realm, and the entire Zhenan army even gained over a dozen generals at the peak of the Poshu realm. Ding! Congratulations to the host. The Zhenan army under your command has condensed military souls. Ding! Congratulations to the host. Your luck has increased. Spiritual energy concentration has increased by 30%. Ding! Congratulations to the host. You have received a great gift package. Qin Tian's eyes lit up upon hearing this. The last time Bai Qi obtained the power of the heavenly tribulation, he received a great gift package. He didn't expect to receive another one this time. Extract the great gift package. Ding! Congratulations to the host. You have obtained the Black Dragon art. Ding! Congratulations to the host. You have obtained 430,000 dragon marks. Please choose a suitable recipient for the host. Ding! Congratulations to the host. You have obtained a 5-clawed black dragon. Do you wish to extract it? Qin Tian looked at the inexplicable dragon marks and frowned, saying, Wei Wei. Come out for a moment. What are these dragon marks? Not long after, Wei Wei's voice came from Qin Tian's mind, saying, Host. Please don't disturb my sleep casually, okay? Wow. Host, did you rob the heavenly Tao? You even got these black dragon marks. Qin Tian heard this and said, stop rambling. Quickly tell me what these dragon marks are for. Alright. Dragon marks are a very powerful existence. Once bestowed upon a suitable person, the recipient will gain the ability of dragon transformation, and most terrifyingly, these dragon marks can be passed down through generations. Moreover, as the main body, you will obtain a 5-clawed black dragon. This black dragon is an extremely powerful existence within the dragon clan. Although the Black Dragon clan is hunted by the Dragon clan of all heavens and myriad realms, its power cannot be denied. Host, you've struck gold. Qin Tian heard this, waved his hand, and said, all right. I understand. Go back to sleep first. Wei Wei grumbled upon hearing this, HMPH. This stinky man is heartlessly abandoning me after using me. Qin Tian listened to Wei Wei's grumbling voice in his mind, feeling a headache. Qin Tian looked at the dragon marks and knew without looking that they were for the Zhenan army, so he said, choose the Zhenan army as the recipient. Ding! Recipient selection successful. The host has one opportunity to change the name. Do you wish to use it? Then let's change the name to Black Dragon Army. Ding! Name change successful. Dragon marks are being transmitted. A ray of light shot out from Qin Tian's body, enveloping the Black Dragon Army. As the light dissipated, a black dragon tattoo appeared on the bodies of the Black Dragon Army. Qin Tian looked at the still bewildered Zhenan army and said, "You must be very curious why that dragon mark appeared on your bodies, right? Actually, you don't need to be surprised, because I bestowed it upon you. This is what you deserve. I have always been clear about rewards and punishments. You fought to the death in front of Zhenan Pass. This is a great merit. Therefore, I have bestowed these black dragon marks upon you. Starting today, the Zhenan army will be renamed the Black Dragon Army. You shall protect my great Tang for generations." All the Black Dragon Army soldiers heard this and immediately knelt down, pressing their fists against their chests, and shouted in unison, "We are willing to die for your majesty. We are willing to die for your majesty. We are willing to die for your majesty." Qin Tian looked at the Black Dragon Army, who were disheveled but stood in neat formation, and said, "Very good. All you soldiers are meritorious subjects of the country. Afterwards, the military department will assess your merits and bestow rewards. Those who deserve promotions will be promoted. Those who deserve titles will be granted titles. I will not be stingy." Then Qin Tian pointed to the military officer standing in the front of the Black Dragon Army with the strongest aura and asked, "What is your name?" Zhang Heng heard this, stepped forward, cupped his fists, and said, "Reporting to your majesty. Your general Zhang Heng." "Very good. From today onwards, you will be the great general of the Black Dragon. Your rank will be from the first rank. You are granted the title Duke of Zhou. This heaven rank high-grade cultivation technique, I bestow upon your Black Dragon Army. You shall pass it down." Zhang Heng heard this and suddenly raised his head, his eyes wide, looking at Qin Tian. Zhang Heng came from a poor family but was born with divine power, so he joined the army when he was young. But after more than 10 years, with his Grandmaster realm cultivation, he had only managed to become a partial general in the Zhenan army. Now, this wave of rewards from Qin Tian made him somewhat unbelievable, and for a moment, he couldn't react. Qin Tian looked at the dazed Zhang Heng and smiled, "What? You are unwilling? Or are you saying that the rewards I have given you are not to your liking?" Zhang Heng heard this and immediately knelt down and kowtowed, saying, "Your subject. Thank you for your majesty's great grace." Qin Tian looked at Zhang Heng and said, "All right. Get up. Quickly take your troops to clean up. Make sure the fallen soldiers are properly buried." Qin Tian turned around and saw Shu Chu and Dian Wei looking at him awkwardly. Qin Tian looked at the two and said coldly, "What are you doing? If you have something to say, say it." Shu Chu and Dian Wei heard this, immediately ran to Qin Tian, knelt down with a thud, and said, "Your generals were ineffective in battle. Please punish your majesty." Qin Tian looked at these two, who were usually so fierce, and saw them like this. He smiled mockingly, "Weren't you two usually quite boastful? How come today you were tied up like grandsons? And you said you were first in the world and I was second. Why don't you two ascend to the heavens? Huh?" After Qin Tian finished speaking, he slapped each of them on the head. Shu Chu and Dian Wei lowered their heads and dared not speak, listening to Qin Tian's harsh words. "All right. Get up. Don't act like women. Isn't it embarrassing? Get up. Will you still be arrogant in the future?" Shu Chu heard this, raised his head, and said, "Your Majesty. That old man was just a martial god. If he were a void realm, Your Majesty. Your general was wrong." Shu Chu was halfway through speaking when Qin Tian glared at him, forcing him to swallow the rest of his words. He quickly apologized. Qin Tian looked at these two fools and got angry, pointing at Shu Chu's nose and scolding, "Void realm. Why don't you say he was a Tianyuan realm? You lost the battle and still dare to make excuses. Shu Chu. Do you think I've been too good to you and you've gotten carried away? Do you believe I'll immediately order someone to drag you away and give you 300 military floggings?" Shu Chu heard this and immediately stepped forward, saying, "No, no, no. Your general knows he was wrong. Your Majesty. Please calm down. Calm down. Are you kidding me? If he were dragged away and given military floggings with his bare buttocks, would Shu Chu still be able to mix in the army? Doesn't Shu Chu have any face?" Chapter 56 Qin Tian Point Technology Tree. Qin Tian brought his men to stay inside Zhenan Pass to prevent the monster beasts from counter-attacking, as the Black Dragon Army and Golden Fire Cavalry needed time to recover. As for Zhao Yun and the others, Qin Tian had sent them to help Guan Yu defend the coastline. With the trouble caused by the monster beast mountain range, Qin Tian felt it was necessary to guard against the sea demons, especially since Qin Tian's battle line was now stretched too thin. In the room, Qin Tian took off his upper garment, revealing his muscular upper body. Qin Tian stood in front of the mirror, examining the two dragon tattoos on his left and right. Qin Tian tried to communicate with the two dragons inside his body, but received no feedback. Seeing this, Qin Tian muttered, "They're really arrogant." Immediately after, Qin Tian opened the system mall again. After the Battle of Zhenan Pass, Qin Tian still felt that the Great Tang Army's equipment was too poor and was completely powerless against a large-scale beast tide. And when it came to weapons of mass destruction in war, it was definitely firearms. Cold weapons were not even fit to carry the shoes of firearms. Qin Tian discovered a very interesting problem, which was that cultivation civilizations like to use the energy of heaven and earth to strengthen themselves, while modern technological civilizations like to use the laws of the world to strengthen the weapons in their hands. These two had some similarities to a certain extent, and if cultivation civilization and technological civilization collided, what kind of sparks would they create? Thinking of this, Qin Tian was very excited. Wei Wei, come out for a moment. What is it now? Wei Wei's lazy voice echoed in Qin Tian's mind. Didn't you say the system could materialize things that exist? Wei Wei was startled upon hearing this, then said, theoretically, that's correct. As long as there's enough energy, the system can synthesize things based on powerful algorithms. Let me put it this way. The system's working principle is actually very simple, just like how you do math problems. It deduces the process from the result and then creates the things you want from the process. Theoretically, anything that has ever existed can be materialized by the system. Qin Tian heard this and said, then why didn't I see any technological weapons in the mall? Wei Wei heard this and said, it's very simple. Because technological weapons have never existed in this world, the price would be ridiculously high, so the system didn't list them. You don't need to worry about that. Just list them out. Oh. Okay. Ding. Mall items are updating. Ding. Update successful. Qin Tian looked at the classification panel and saw a new column for technological martial skills. He clicked into it and was almost blinded. Good heavens. A spaceship followed by 50 zeros, and it was settled in supreme-grade spirit stones. Seeing this, Qin Tian's heart instantly turned cold by half. System. Filter the things I can afford. Ding. Filtering successful. Qin Tian looked at the items above, most of which were products of class civilization. An AK that could be cobbled together in any small workshop in Syria was selling for 200,000 high-grade spiritual stones in the mall, not to mention those high-precision weapons. Qin Tian looked at the ridiculous price and couldn't help but complain, Wei Wei. Are you kidding me with this price? So, I told you, even if you had it, you couldn't afford it. Qin Tian looked at how expensive even a half-level civilization weapon was. He couldn't even afford a 260,000 won without going bankrupt, which made Qin Tian feel a sense of frustration. However, Qin Tian immediately thought of a good idea. According to reason, the operating laws of the universe are similar. Since he couldn't afford to buy them, why couldn't he build them? Wei Wei. Organize all the military production data from level 1 to level 2 for me. Wei Wei heard this and said, what? You're not going to. Host, listen to me. Less nonsense. Hurry up. Oh. Ding. Production data purchase successful. 200 million high-grade spiritual stones deducted. Qin Tian felt a pang of pain seeing this and said, why is it so expensive? Wei Wei smiled and said, the data is worth a few cents, the main thing is that the transmission device of level 1 civilization is expensive. It can scan and store data, then connect to the human brain and directly transmit the data into the mind. This is just a small toy of level 1 civilization. Qin Tian looked at the palm-sized transmission device in his hand and said with a pang of pain, all right. You go back first. Oh. Qin Tian looked at the transmission device in his hand and wanted to cry without tears. The next day, Qin Tian returned to West Liang with his troops. The first thing he did after returning to West Liang was to find Uyazi, because Hua Tuo had already gone out on a journey and it would take some time for him to return. Uyazi greets your majesty. Qin Tian helped Uyazi up and said, Don't rush to talk about this. I have something here, take a look. Then, Qin Tian took out his treasure from his pocket and said, don't resist. Let go of your sea of consciousness. As the data began to transmit, Uyazi's expression went from initial pain to later ecstasy, because Qin Tian had opened the door to a new world for him, so Uyazi was both in pain and happy at this moment. After the data transmission was completed, Uyazi said with a trembling voice, Your Majesty. This. Qin Tian looked at the excited Uyazi and said, all right. Stop talking. When Zhuge Liang returns, I will have him resign from his official position, and you, he, and Hua Tuo will organize a science academy, named the Great Tang Science Academy. Remember, this institution must be kept strictly confidential. All the resources of the entire Great Tang will be tilted towards you. You must show me some results. Your subject. Your Majesty. Looking at the apprentices behind Uyazi, Qin Tian silently said, Wei Wei, come out for a moment. I have a question to ask. What is it? Speak. Why do Uyazi and the others have apprentices, but Zhuge Liang and Pao Ding don't? In terms of strength, Zhuge Liang and Pao Ding are not inferior to the two of them. Oh, you're talking about that. Before, your luck was insufficient, so they couldn't be assigned apprentices. However, if you really want to be assigned apprentices, you can ask the system to make up for it. Qin Tian's eyes lit up upon hearing this and said, really? Theoretically, it's possible. Are you sure you want to summon them? Sure. Wait. Tell me the price first. Qin Tian was particularly cautious at this time due to his previous experience. Oh ho. You've learned your lesson. Actually, it doesn't cost much, just 900 million supreme grade spirit stones. Qin Tian almost bit off his tongue upon hearing this. Even if he sold the Great Tang, it wouldn't be worth this price. Wei Wei. Isn't this price a bit high? Wei Wei heard this and shouted, what? This is already very cheap, okay. You have to know that every character summoned by the system is a priceless treasure. 900 million is already a special price given by the system to compensate you, okay. You're still not satisfied. Chapter 57. Set off. Towards the Orc Empire. Qin Tian scratched his head and said with a laugh, it's not that I'm afraid of being poor, but you open your mouth and ask for 900 million supreme grade spirit stones at once, aren't you asking for this old Qin's life? Wei Wei heard this and shouted, are you buying or not? Upon hearing this, Qin Tian tilted his head back 45 degrees and said, buy. I'll buy it. Isn't it just 900 million? Your Majesty has plenty of money. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully spending 300 million supreme grade spirit stones to purchase Array Formation Master apprentices. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully spending 300 million supreme grade spirit stones to purchase Puppet Master's apprentices. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully spending 300 million supreme grade spirit stones to purchase Spiritual Food Master apprentices. Ding. Divine Crystals exchange successful. Change of 100 million supreme grade spirit stones. Please check your balance, host. Ding. Purchase complete. Does the host wish to summon? Summon. Ding. Summon successful. System personnel will arrive within half an hour. Please be aware, host. Qin Tian watched the divine crystals that had appeared out of thin air via the system and disappeared, feeling a pang in his heart. However, Qin Tian couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief looking at the extra 9,000 personnel, as what he lacked most now was trustworthy talent, and these people were the ones Qin Tian trusted the most. They were the best researchers from the Great Tang Science Academy. Just imagine, if Qin Tian's Science Academy could produce rifles and machine guns capable of shooting down Po Shu realm experts, then any country that dared to fight against the Great Tang in the future would surely face their nightmare. And there was the antimatter bomb. If it were actually created, its power would be terrifying just thinking about it. Therefore, the matter of the Great Tang Science Academy must be kept secret. If the news leaked, the Great Tang would surely perish. In this man-eat-man world, before possessing absolute strength, others will not reason with you. This was a lesson Qin Tian learned in his previous life. Why did the United States attack Syria? Because they suspected Syria had weapons of mass destruction. Why didn't the United States dare to attack North Korea? Because they truly had weapons of mass destruction. These two sentences are enough to illustrate that before a country possesses sufficient military power to protect itself, it's best not to be targeted by other powerful nations, or it will surely be severely bullied. In his previous life, people still had some sense of morality, but here, people believed in the naked law of the jungle. If others were to know that the Great Tang could manufacture such powerful weapons, then the next second, a group of martial god realm experts would definitely come to Qin Tian's imperial palace to have tea with him. After handing over the newly arrived personnel to Uyazi and the others, Qin Tian rushed to Yumun Pass. Under years of management, all the original gaps in Yumun Pass had been sealed. The walls of Yumun Pass were entirely cast with special cement, reaching a height of over 100 meters. From a distance, it looked like a fierce beast lying at the mountain pass. The entire Yumun Pass was guarded by 20,000 Great Qin elite soldiers, and many orc tribesmen who had traveled from distant tribes to exchange grain at Yumun Pass formed long queues in front of Yumun Pass. Just as Qin Tian was stationed at Yumun Pass, in the imperial study of the Star Empire, a eunuch knelt before a man wearing a dragon robe who exuded authority without anger, saying, "Reporting to your majesty. Shadow has reported. They say that at the Great Tang border, the Great Tang imperial family is exchanging grain with the orc for ores." The Star Emperor heard this and rubbed his brows, saying, "Let them be. Those dynasties below haven't been very peaceful these past few years. The main task now is to find those who are selling yellow-grade and Zon-grade weapons in large quantities in the orc tribes. You shadows have spent so many years and only found this for me. Do you take your majesty for a fool? This humble servant is incompetent. Please forgive this humble servant, your majesty." The Star Emperor looked at the trembling eunuch below and waved his hand, saying, "If it weren't for the fact that you still have some use, your majesty would have personally killed you long ago. Thank you for your majesty's grace in not killing." Scram. Yes. This humble servant takes his leave. After arriving at Yumun Pass, Qin Tian saw Shen Wansen who had been waiting there for a long time. Shen Wansen stepped forward and said, "Your Majesty. All matters are prepared." Qin Tian looked at Shen Wansen in front of him and said, "Then let's just go. Why are you standing here?" After Qin Tian finished speaking, he took the lead and walked out of Yumun Pass. Whoosh! Outside Yumun Pass, the desert sand flew, and everywhere were reddish gravel cliffs. Occasionally, a few first-order demonic beasts soared in the sky. Qin Tian surveyed the majestic and grand scenery before him, and a surge of heroic spirit rose in his heart. Since transmigrating to the Tianshuan continent, Qin Tian had been staying within the borders of the Great Tang. Only 21 this year, Qin Tian disliked staying in the imperial city. He was already tired of a life where clothes were handed to him and food was put into his mouth. Therefore, for this transaction with the orc, he planned to go personally and take the opportunity to admire the beautiful scenery of the Tianshuan continent. Although this Gobi desert was incomparably desolate, it displayed an unprecedented beauty of desolation. Qin Tian had never seen such a magnificent scenery in both his previous and current lives. This time, coming to the orc territory, Qin Tian seized the opportunity to feast his eyes. After all, having come to this world, wouldn't it be a pity not to go out and explore? A brocade guard ran to Qin Tian, knelt down, and said, "Reporting to your majesty. 30 li ahead is Wu Tian city of the orc." Qin Tian heard this, nodded, and said, "All right. I understand. Everyone take the disguise pill. The Tiger Brave Army and the brocade guard will wait outside the city. I will take Shen Wansen, Shu Chu, and Dian Wei into the city." After Qin Tian finished speaking, everyone immediately took the disguise pill. After Qin Tian took the disguise pill, he transformed into a werewolf. Dian Wei, Shu Chu, and Shen Wansen also transformed into werewolves. Qin Tian examined his sharp claws, then pulled a handful of his own fur. This caused Qin Tian to grimace in pain and curse, "Damn it, that really hurts." Immediately after, Qin Tian looked at Shu Chu, Dian Wei, and Shen Wansen and said, "All right. From now on, you are to call me young master. Do you all understand?" Understood. Qin Tian's disguise pill was a 7th-tier medicinal pill purchased from the system space. This pill could fundamentally change a person's appearance, to the point that even martial god realm experts wouldn't recognize them. The price of this disguise pill alone was as high as 6 million mid-grade spiritual stones. Previously, Shen Wanson and the others simply wore masks when trading with the beastmen. But now Qin Tian had money, so naturally, he gave them the best. After half an hour of galloping by carriage, Qin Tian finally arrived at the foot of Wutian City. Wutian City was a city that emerged after the mutual trade between the Orc and the Great Tang. The daily flow of people here reached hundreds of millions. Therefore, the city gate of Wutian City was built particularly large, a full 200 meters wide, and many beastmen merchant caravans lined up in an orderly fashion to pay the entrance fee. Wutian City was a city built jointly by the Huli tribe and several other major tribes to provide food and lodging for the merchant caravans coming to Yumun Pass. Even the gatekeepers of Wutian City were experts of the Hautian realm. Although they were nothing in Qin Tian's eyes, they could be considered experts in the smaller tribes of the Orc. Chapter 58. The End of the Sword God Sect. Outside the Blade God Sect, Zhuge Liang surveyed the bustling Blade God Sect. Cao Zhengchun, who was beside Zhuge Liang, was closing his eyes to rest his mind, when a brocade guard appeared before Zhuge Liang with a few horizontal leaps and said, reporting to Lord Zhuge. The list of disciples from various forces within the Blade God sect is all here, please take a look. Zhuge Liang took the list, glanced at it, and said, all right. You've worked hard. Chief Eunuch Cao. This is the list, please take a look. Cao Zhengchun opened his eyes and said in a hoarse voice, Lord Zhuge. You can look at it yourself. This time, this servant has only come to act as a thug, whatever you say, this servant will do. Zhuge Liang merely smiled slightly at Cao Zhengchun's attitude. He knew that due to his position, Cao Zhengchun could not associate too closely with the officials in the court, not even with Zhuge Liang and the others. Even if Qin Tian didn't care about this, he couldn't do it, this was a matter of principle. One must know that the privileges of the brocade guard were truly too great. Cao Zhengchun was now truly in existence below one person and above 10,000. So he paid extra attention to this point, diligently fulfilling his duties. After all, Qin Tian didn't even keep him by his side now, which made him particularly concerned. After all, truly speaking, he was the person closest to Qin Tian, so he felt a bit jealous that Dian Wei and the other person could follow Qin Tian whenever he went out. And Qin Tian, who was in the imperial palace, particularly disliked that set of etiquette, so even in the palace, Cao Zhengchun didn't have many opportunities to see Qin Tian. Therefore, this time Cao Zhengchun came with the goal of proving himself, he wanted to show Qin Tian a hand to prove his worth. Actually, Cao Zhengchun misunderstood. The reason Qin Tian didn't take him out was because Cao Zhengchun had an indelible aura of coldness on his body. Although the heavenly Gang pure yang technique he cultivated was an extremely yang cultivation method, as an eunuch, anyone with sufficient cultivation could tell that Cao Zhengchun was an eunuch with just a glance, because although Cao Zhengchun's body had surging yang energy, that yang energy carried an undeniable aura of feminine softness. This was no different from sticking to someone's face and telling them he was an eunuch, and who would have an eunuch by their side. Wasn't the answer very obvious? Zhuge Liang looked at Cao Zhengchun and smiled, Chief Eunuch Cao. Let's make our move tonight. Later, I will first break the Blade God sect's protective formation, and those experts from the Blade God sect will be handed over to you to hold them off for a moment, only 3 breaths are needed. Tell your subordinates to pay attention to a person named Bing Yuyan, except for this person, kill all the other disciples. Cao Zhengchun nodded upon hearing this and said, no problem. Isn't it just 3 breaths? Don't worry, within 10 breaths, not a single Tian Yuan realm expert from the Blade God sect will be able to escape from this servant's hands. Zhuge Liang clasped his fists upon hearing this and said, then I shall trouble Chief Eunuch Cao. Cao Zhengchun waved his hand and said, just sharing His Majesty's worries. Bing Yuyan in the cold ice mountain valley within the Blade God sect was staring blankly at the snowflakes falling in the distance, when suddenly a black figure appeared beside Bing Yuyan. The person, leaning on a staff, said hoarsely, Miss. This Blade God sect is finished. We've also gotten what we wanted, let's leave quickly. Otherwise, it will be quite troublesome later. A 9th order formation master has come, and dealing with them with this old woman's cultivation at the middle stage of the Void Realm is still very troublesome. Bing Yuyan frowned upon hearing this and said, Mehu Apopo. Could it be someone from the Array Formation Master Association has come? The eldress shook her head upon hearing this and said, no. It looks like they are people from Great Tang. This Blade God sect should have been planning to target the Great Tang Dynasty, but now people from Great Tang have come knocking on their door. In this old woman's opinion, the overseas three sects are about to be removed from the list this time. Not good. We must leave quickly. Otherwise, it will be too late. Last time, this old woman wasn't by your side and you almost encountered danger. This time, this Ninth Order formation master is very dangerous. Even if old Shen encountered him, he wouldn't necessarily gain any advantage. On the Tianchuan continent, there are 4 noble professions, among which the array formation master is the most dangerous, because high-level array formation masters can set up a super formation with a flick of their hands. However, among these 4 professions, the array formation master is also the poorest, because the materials for each super formation are very expensive. Moreover, setting up each formation requires consuming a large amount of spiritual stones. Furthermore, some even use spiritual veins directly to set up formations, but this type of formation is mostly ceiling formations, or some peerless fierce formations. With Qin Tian's financial support, Zhugliang can now be called a mobile arsenal, with 6 Ninth Order array formation plates alone, and dozens of 7th and 8th Order array formation plates. These were all made by him on this journey over the past half-month. Therefore, Mehua Popo was scared away because she sensed the vast soul power and the fluctuations of the 9th Order array formation plates on Zhuge Liang's body. Crack, crack, snap. As the sound of the formation breaking rang out, all the high-level figures in the Blade God sect were awakened. Who dares to trespass into my Blade God sect late at night? The 9 Blade God sect supreme elders, after sensing the protective formation breaking, quickly ascended to meet the enemy. Zhang Zheng looked at Cao Zhengchun and Zhuge Liang and smiled, people from Great Tang. Cao Zhengchun looked at the group of high-level figures from the Blade God sect and smiled, that's right. This servant has been ordered by His Majesty the Great Tang Emperor to come and destroy the Blade God sect. Zhang Zheng immediately laughed heartily upon hearing this, ha. You, a mere early-stage De Yuan realm, dare to utter such arrogant words. Cao Zhengchun didn't argue further with Zhang Zheng upon hearing this and immediately went all out with his attack. Cao Zhengchun roared, heaven's wrath. At the cost of dropping a minor realm, Cao Zhengchun directly raised his cultivation to the early-stage Tianyuan realm. Following Cao Zhengchun's furious roar, 10 fire pythons possessing early-stage Tianyuan realm power charged towards the 9 Blade God sect supreme elders, 2 of which coiled around Zhang Zheng. At this moment, those De Yuan realm elders of the Blade God sect all ascended into the air, watching the battlefield in the sky, but they were all just watching quietly, because at this time, the auras of Zhuge Liang and Cao Zhengchun were extremely terrifying, as if they would directly turn into corpses if they got close. The Blade God sect master looked at Zhuge Liang in the sky and shouted loudly, not good. That person is an array formation master. Quickly stop him. Upon hearing this, the elders of the Blade God sect also knew that if they didn't stop Zhuge Liang now, then the Blade God sect would truly be finished. So a group of Blade God sect elders all charged towards Zhuge Liang. Zhuge Liang frowned as he looked at the group of high-level figures from the Blade God sect flying towards him, and with a flick of his right index finger, an 8th Order array formation plate flew towards the Blade God sect's high-level figures. Chapter 59. The formation is complete. Although the power of the array disk couldn't compare to a properly set up formation, it was still sufficient to momentarily block these high-level members of the Blade God sect. Zhuge Liang's hands flew, and countless formation flags were flung out by him. Zhang Zheng watched the gradually forming grand formation and his heart immediately grew anxious. After shaking off a fire snake, he wanted to rush over and take down Zhuge Liang. Where are you going? Stay here for me. Cao Zhengchun waved his large hand, and 2 fire pythons wrapped around Zhang Zheng again. Zhang Zheng looked at the other Blade God sect supreme elders and couldn't help but feel extremely anxious at this moment, because Zhuge Liang's grand formation was about to be completed within just 2 breaths, and in such a short time, they had no way to break free from the fire python's restraints. Eunuch. Die for me. Zhang Zheng knew that if he didn't break free from Cao Zhengchun's restraints now, their Blade God sect would surely be annihilated today. Zhang Zheng was seen to suddenly have a pill in his hand. Zhang Zheng looked at the pill, gritted his teeth, and swallowed it. As the pill entered his body, Zhang Zheng's aura infinitely approached the void realm, and the two fire pythons wrapped around him only lasted for a second before being shattered. After breaking free from the formation's restraints, Zhang Zheng ignored Cao Zhengchun and instead directly charged towards Zhuge Liang. Just after the fire pythons were scattered, Cao Zhengchun spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, clearly having suffered no small injury. Fire Cloud Blade Art. Zhang Zheng unleashed his famous ultimate skill towards Zhuge Liang. Zhang Zheng had once used this Earth-rank high-grade martial skill to withstand 3 moves from a Void Realm martial artist, showing how terrifying its power was. Zhuge Liang looked at this fierce attack, hardened his heart, and directly threw out 13 8th order array discs. Clang! A violent metal collision sound rang out. Zhuge Liang had directly completed the formation setup before Zhang Zheng's attack arrived. Zhuge Liang looked at the formation before him and couldn't help but curse, damn it. What a huge loss. Even Zhuge Liang, who had always been gentle, refined, and remained expressionless even when Mount Tai collapsed before him, couldn't help but curse upon seeing this. This showed the value of these dozen-plus array discs. Even Zhuge Liang would feel heartache. Zhuge Liang manipulated the formation to move Cao Zhengchun out of it, then stepped forward and asked, Chief Eunuch Cao, are you alright? Cao Zhengchun, relying solely on his own strength, had forcibly held back 9 Tian Yuan realm martial artists for 3 breaths of time. Now that the fire pythons were withdrawn, Cao Zhengchun's cultivation instantly dropped to the peak of the Dan Yuan realm. I'm alright. I just need to recover from my injuries and cultivate for a period of time in the future to return to the Di Yuan realm cultivation. In the end, I still underestimated these Tian Yuan realm martial artists, cough cough. I didn't expect their counterattack to be so strong. Then you rest first, I'll go deal with these miscellaneous fellows. Zhang Zheng's mood instantly sank to the bottom when he saw the formation in front of him fully condensed. He knew that with just the strength of the Blade God sect, they couldn't break out of this 9th order killing formation, but Zhang Zheng was fearless at this moment because there was someone in the Blade God sect that their great Tang couldn't afford to provoke. So Zhang Zheng looked at Zhuge Liang and asked, your great Tang is truly overbearing. Haven't our past grievances already been written off? Why do you still want to annihilate my Blade God sect? Zhuge Liang heard this and laughed disdainfully. You must be clearer than I am about what you've done. Your Majesty said that since you are seeking death, then he will fulfill your wish. After all, we already spared you once last time, but this time we won't give you another chance. Those who offend my great Tang will be punished, no matter how far away they are. Oh, is that so? I don't believe you dare to annihilate my Blade God sect while bearing the pressure from the Ice God Valley. If my Blade God sect is annihilated, then there will be no place for your great Tang in the northwest of this Tianshuan continent. Zhuge Liang heard this and laughed, is that so? Are you talking about those scions from the various great dynasties? Our great Tang is really not afraid. As for the Ice God Valley, Your Excellency, since you've come, why not show yourself? As Zhuge Liang's words fell, Mehua Popo's figure gradually appeared before everyone. Mehua Popo looked at Zhuge Liang and Cao Zhengchun and said, I didn't expect this remote place on the Tianshuan continent to simultaneously have outstanding individuals like the two of you. I wonder if the two of you are interested in joining my Ice God Valley. If you are willing, my Ice God Valley is willing to treat you with the position of elder. Zhuge Liang heard this and laughed, no need. Our great Tang is quite good, I thank your excellency for your high regard. Mehua Popo heard this, nodded, and said, all right then. If your excellency wishes to defect to my Ice God Valley in the future, my Ice God Valley will surely welcome you with open arms. This old one takes her leave. The Blade God sect master looked at Bing Yuyan behind Mehua Popo and shouted loudly, wait. Yu Yan. The Blade God sect is your sect after all. Now the Blade God sect is facing the danger of annihilation, don't you have any sense of gratitude? Bing Yuyan also felt a wave of difficulty upon hearing this. Although she hadn't formally joined the Blade God sect, the Blade God sect had taken great care of her, so if she were to leave at this moment, she truly wouldn't be able to overcome that hurdle in her heart. Bing Yuyan's red lips parted slightly as she said, all right. I will try my best. I will try my best to protect the Blade God sect's inner and outer sect disciples, just to repay this favor. Bing Yuyan knew the weight of a 9th order formation master. Even she didn't dare to easily offend a Ninth Order formation master, because a Ninth Order formation master was definitely considered high level within the Array Formation Alliance. According to the Array Formation Alliance's protective nature towards its members, if they found out that they dared to lay a hand on a Ninth Order formation master, then the Ice God Valley's future days would definitely not be easy. Because the strength of the Array Formation Alliance was far greater than their Ice God Valley, the number of Array Formation masters under them was countless, and just the 9 Alliance leaders at the Martial God Realm were Ninth Order Formation masters. As for those reclusive old monsters, they were even more terrifying. Bing Yuyan stepped forward and said, Senior. Could you please spare the Blade God sect's inner sect disciples and outer sect disciples? Consider it a favor to the Ice God Valley from Senior. Zhuge Liang heard this and nodded, saying, all right. After speaking, Zhuge Liang waved his large hand and transferred all the Innate Realm and Grandmaster Realm disciples out of the formation, using the Blade God sect's inner and outer sect disciples to repay a favor to the Ice God Valley was quite worthwhile. After all, these inner and outer sect disciples were not involved in the true core of the Blade God sect, so letting them go was no big deal. The Blade God sect's inner and outer sect disciples couldn't help but be stunned upon seeing this. They still didn't understand what had happened until now. After all, this matter happened too quickly, and those with low strength simply didn't have time to react. Bing Yuyan saw that Zhuge Liang easily agreed to her request and couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief, saying, then I thank Senior. Bing Yuyan looked at the inner and outer sect disciples below and said, you all leave. The Blade God sect is being annihilated today, you don't need to be buried with it. After Bing Yuyan finished speaking, she followed behind Mehua Popo and disappeared into the spatial wormhole created by Mehua Popo. Chapter 60. The Sword God sect is destroyed. After Bing Yuyan completely vanished from her original spot, Zhuge Liang stood with his hands behind his back, looking at the high-ranking members of the Blade God sect below and said, do you have any last words? Zhang Zheng laughed upon hearing this, saying, ha ha ha. So what if you are a 9-rank formation master? But don't forget, you are just a martial artist at the peak of the Danyuan realm. Our Blade God sect has a 10,000-year legacy. Today, I will personally experience the power of you, this 9-rank formation master. Today, I will use the 10,000-year destiny of our Blade God sect to contend with you, this 9-rank formation master. I summon the sect's destiny. As Zhang Zheng's words fell, the statue of the Blade God sect's founder, which stood in front of the sect, collapsed with a crash. All the deacons and elders of the Blade God sect sat cross-legged in place, silently reciting unknown incantations. As a golden yellow destiny rose, it condensed into a 100-meter-long giant blade in the sky. Zhuge Liang looked at the giant blade in the sky, a smile of disdain appearing at the corner of his mouth. Then, he pointed with his index finger and chanted, scatter. As Zhuge Liang's words fell, the giant blade in the sky transformed into countless golden dust particles and dispersed into the air. After the Blade God sect's destiny giant blade dissipated, all the elders of the Blade God sect suffered backlash and spat out fresh blood. Zhang Zheng looked at Zhuge Liang, who stood silently in the sky, and said with difficulty, Ho! How is this possible? Our Blade God sect's 10,000-year destiny. How could it be broken by you like this? Zhuge Liang looked at Zhang Zheng and smiled, is that so difficult? I had long anticipated that you would activate the Blade God sect's destiny, so I had previously set up an 8th-tier array plate beneath your ancestor's statue. The sole purpose of that array plate is for Devour Destiny. I have been waiting for you to activate your Blade God sect's destiny. Otherwise, did you think you would have time to activate your Blade God sect's 10,000-year destiny? Considering your decent strength, I'll tell you, my name is Zhuge Liang. After all, we have met twice now. All right. The time for small talk is over. You have already lost your last use. Now, I will send you on your way. Zhang Zheng spat out a mouthful of fresh blood upon hearing this. What is meant by killing someone's heart? This is it. Zhang Zheng looked up at the sky. He had dominated the Tianshuan continent for thousands of years, and he never expected to be defeated by an unknown Great Tang. All the high-ranking members of the Blade God sect began to beg for mercy after seeing the Destiny Giant blade in the sky shatter. Zhuge Liang looked at the high-ranking members of the Blade God sect below, who were begging for mercy, and shook his head, saying, alas. Let me send you on your way. 9 Heavy Mysterious Blade Array. Pardon. After speaking, Zhuge Liang waved his hand, and countless blades were condensed within the grand array. Clang, clang, clang. The high-ranking members of the Blade God sect began to desperately resist the flying blades. The true disciples and deacons whose strength was at the Po Shu realm and Dan Yuan realm were slaughtered in an instant. A 9-rank array formation master is truly terrifying. As time passed, the elders of the Blade God sect in the Di Yuan realm could no longer hold on and were all sliced into human sticks by the condensed blades. Zhang Zheng looked at the elders who had been chopped into human sticks on the ground and roared, Zhuge Liang. You despicable villain. May you die a horrible death. Due to the density of the blades in the sky, Zhang Zheng couldn't even self-detonate now, because as soon as he relaxed, his fate would definitely not be much better than those elders. A quarter of an hour later, only Zhang Zheng was struggling on the field. Swoosh! A blade whistled through Zhang Zheng's right leg. As 3 sounds of blades cutting through flesh rang out, Zhang Zheng's right arm and left arm were chopped off. Severely injured, Zhang Zheng knelt on the ground, his clothes stained with blood. Swoosh! Swoosh! Another 2 sounds of blades cutting through flesh rang out, and Zhang Zheng's left and right legs were completely severed. Zhang Zheng, who had become a human stick, fell into the pool of blood in a sorry state. Zhuge Liang looked at the high-ranking members of the Blade God sect who were wailing incessantly, and said to the brocade guard who had appeared behind him at some point, give them blood-staunching pills. Don't let any of them die. General Bai personally requested them. After speaking, Zhuge Liang waved his hand and threw hundreds of iron coffins onto the ground, saying, after they swallow the blood-staunching pills, put them in the coffins and transport them to General Bai. Also, record the tragic scene here with a recording stone and send it to the Shenjian sect and the King Kong sect. Cao Zhengchun began to direct the brocade guard to clean up the battlefield, which was flowing with blood. Zhuge Liang, on the other hand, went to the back mountain of the Blade God sect. After Zhuge Liang threw an array plate onto the ground, the earth immediately began to tremble. As the sound of rocks shattering rang out, 2 medium-grade spiritual veins were uprooted. The moment the 2 medium-grade spiritual veins appeared, the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth began to surge. Zhuge Liang looked at the 2 medium-grade spiritual veins, a smile curving at the corner of his mouth, and said, collect. As the array plate flashed with light, the 2 spiritual veins were collected by Zhuge Liang into the array plate. Zhuge Liang's face turned pale after doing all this, and he coughed up fresh blood. Looking at the fresh blood in his hand, Zhuge Liang murmured, was it still too much? The brocade guard quickly finished confiscating the Blade God sect. When it comes to raiding homes, the brocade guard is definitely professional, so soon all the valuable items from top to bottom in the entire Blade God sect were taken away, even some valuable pillars in the main hall were dismantled. In the King Kong sect, the sect master of the King Kong sect, Wu Hao, who received the recording stone sent by the brocade guard, looked at the elders of the King Kong sect below and said, the Blade God sect is finished. From now on, our days of dominating the world as the overseas 3 sects are over. Elders, what do you think we should do next? The great elder of the King Kong sect said, alas. At present, one of our overseas 3 sects is gone. Now, we no longer have the capital to contend head-on with the Great Tang. I suggest that from now on, our King Kong sect begin to submit as your subject and pay tribute to the Great Tang. Wu Hao couldn't help but smile upon hearing this and said, everyone. In my opinion, this might be an opportunity for our King Kong sect. Look, this Great Tang has only begun to rise in recent years. The Great Tang court has experts like clouds. According to this momentum, if our Blade God sect were to rely on the Great Tang, perhaps in the near future, our Blade God sect could advance further. The other elders also expressed their agreement upon hearing this. After all, not agreeing wasn't an option either. If they didn't agree, Qin Tian's army might arrive at their mountain gate the next day. After all, how can others snore beside one's couch? Moreover, the strength of the overseas 3 sects is not to be underestimated. They have experts like clouds in their sects. If the King Kong sect and the Shenjian sect do not submit as your subject, then Qin Tian will definitely send people to destroy them before long. Without the Blade God sect, the remaining 2 sects are truly not a match for the Great Tang. After all, the current Qin Tian, who is wealthy and powerful, is not the same as before. Under the accumulation of a large amount of pills, the Great Tang is currently soaring. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories, and never miss out on a great listen.